Well, unfortunately, the West Test is over. Or maybe fortunately, to put us out of our misery, we're going to conduct a post-mortem. It's a couple of hours after the closure of Day 4's play over there in Perth. The Aussies have lost by a massive 295 runs to the Indians. We'll talk all things Test cricket and the summer of cricket. Plus, the Chiefs have a loss, nearly 2 as of this morning. The Lions look pretty close to unstoppable in the NFL. We'll chat all things gridiron. Plus, the NBA a quarter of the way through the season. Things taking shape in the East, whereas the West is still wide open. Bit of footy thrown in there. AFL draft was last week, and it was a fun fortnight whilst Australia was back in the forefront. That came to an end last night with a loss to Scotland. Dominance also a strong word, but anyways, a couple of wins was nice. Yep. Plus the final round, talking of dominance, John Jones, he defended the heavyweight belt last week at UFC 309. Where to now in the heavyweight division? F1 Vegas was on over the weekend. A bit of chat from the EPL. This is On The Esky. It's an Aussie sports podcast. We like our Aussie sports. We like our US and world sports. If you watch it on YouTube, we do have timestamps, unless you're here live. You can skip to the sports that you like. And chuck us a subscription or check us out on Instagram and Facebook. We start the show by shouting a beer. Shauno, how are you? And who are you shouting a beer this week?
Very good, very good. I've got Joey Logano, who has won his third NASCAR Cup Series championship. So he's the champion for this year in NASCAR. Had a pretty interesting run back because during the regular season, I think he ended up finishing like around the 10th, 11th mark. So not very high. Did sneak into the playoffs. Did get eliminated in the playoffs before I think it was Christian Bell got disqualified for his little. He did a wall ride, which is not allowed anymore, to try and keep his speed and gain a position. So he got out of the second round and Joey snuck back in. But when it counted the most, the big races, he led a lot of the last race of the year, and I think he finished second from memory. But just got to finish in the lead ahead of the other playoff contender drivers, and which he did by a couple of spots to win his third NASCAR Cup Series championship. He's got a bit of a run of doing it on odd years as well. So he didn't do it last year. He won the year before. Didn't do it the year before. The one. So yeah, he's rotates them. So won't win one next year, but maybe the following year he'll be
on even years. You mean
even years? Yeah.
Yeah. He's 34 years of age, so could have a few more left in him.
Yep. Definitely. And he's been pretty dominant, and he didn't have many wins during the season. I think he only had 3 wins compared to like Kyle Larson, who led the regular season. He had 12, I think. But when it mattered, playoff driving.
Clutch.
Yeah, it's interesting like having a driving championship with a playoff process in it. So
it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
Clutch Logano, that's what they call him in the NASCAR world.
No pun intended.
I didn't know that wall rides were a thing. I obviously don't watch a whole lot of motorsport, let alone NASCAR, but I always thought a wall ride was something from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yes.
So there you go. The more you know on the Esky. Congrats to Joey Logano. Probably had a couple as well over the weekend, you'd think. Third-time NASCAR champion.
Yeah, I think that cup was well used with grog in it. What about you, Peppy?
But late. I'm going to shout 2 beers to Ben and Lucas Camporelli of My Carlton Blues. Actually, they can have one with Jagger Smith too. The draft class for the Blues in 2024. A lot of blue baggers. Pretty excited about Jagger Smith up the top, 3rd overall pick. But then also fans of the club will know that Ben and Lucas, pretty famous surname with Scott Camporelli, their father, playing 233 games for the Blues between 95 and 05, finishing up there at Essendon. So good to see the father-son pick being used for not one player, but 2. Big shoes to fill, a bit of a club legend with Scott Camporelli, and they went sort of a bit lower down, so hopefully not feeling heaps and heaps of pressure. But good to see them following in their father's footsteps, and wishing all the recruits all the best. They got obviously a tough pre-season upcoming. It would be hard for the seasoned vets. I can only imagine the stress on an 18-year-old body. But yeah, wishing them all the best and looking forward to seeing them in the navy blue Guernsey next year. All right, from the AFL over to the NFL, we're going to give out a double mop to 2 franchises that are really struggling, big market franchises. We are talking the New York Giants and New York Jets. Who do you want to start with? You want to start with the Giants?
Maybe start with the Giants because it's recent, because
We got smacked today by the Bucks. They've won 2 games,
Yep.
and Daniel Jones, we'll also talk about it in the NFL section, has been released.
Yes, has been released. And I think that's the main thing of the recency is because Saquon playing for the Eagles today
put an really good
absolute masterclass. So, a bit of a mop there for the Giants because they decided to pay Daniel Jones to, keep him as a quarterback and not pay Saquon and let him go. And then have now since released Daniel Jones, not too short after it. It'd be interesting what his dead cap is because I'm
looking that up
because he was averaging about 40 mil a season, and I think that deal was 4 years, so he's probably got another 3 left. 4 year.
So 20 months after he signed a 4-year, $160 million contract. So they're responsible for a $22 million cap hit next year. And then, so releasing him this year, that's has saved him $19 million from next year. You're better at this than I am with how the contracts sort of work over there and dead caps and whatnot. But they've essentially could have paid Saquon.
Easily
for quarterback 3 times over.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it'll be interesting because the dead cap's all guaranteed money, so we'll have to check his actual contract what that amounts to, but it's probably a lot, in the realm of what Denver's kind of eating for Russell at the moment. So, I think they saved some money, of course, this year, but that money should have been better spent elsewhere. Clubs all over the place. Malik Neighbours was talking, quoted today. It was just like the quarterback wasn't the issue. Same shit today, different quarterback. So, I guess pushing a lot of questions at the coaching staff. And in their division as well with Dallas. Dallas was almost close to probably deserving a mop, but they somehow managed to win against the Commanders today. For another franchise that's kind of all over the place, which might be funniest thing that Daniel Jones could do would be to sign with the Cowboys and then play them on Thanksgiving this week.
Be a quick turnaround.
Yes, it would be.
Cooper Rush won today, bro.
Yeah. They might keep him in there, so we'll see how we go.
And then the other team over there in New York, the New York Jets, obviously all hopes were high last year when they signed former, 4-time MVP in Aaron Rodgers. 3 plays in, he does his Achilles. You don't want to say that exact moment was their season, but it certainly had a big part to do with them not making playoffs last year. Defense was really pretty good last year. There's a lot of same names on defense this year. Haven't been playing great. Rodgers certainly doesn't look like prime Aaron Rodgers. So what do we do? Do you blow up the whole thing? Does Rodgers play there next year?
Well, it seems like they already are because they fired Salah and now Douglas, so they've got no head coach, no GM, so there'll be a new relationship there as well for them. So, and they're probably looking another direction. By all accounts, they've basically, I'm not sure who's leaking the news, but Rodgers wants to play another year and it's not going to be at the Jets.
That's everything that I keep hearing.
So, but I don't know, what camp that's coming from, whether the Jets want him out or not. But there seems like the marriage is over. All his Packers friends coming over. It doesn't seem to work. Like when you compare the statistics and Zach Wilson was a better quarterback for you.
I think that's been bastardized a little bit.
Yeah, so they've got a few more wins. I think the big thing, their defense isn't playing nearly as well.
Correct.
Firing your defensive head coach is probably the reason why they've gone backwards.
I think they early crowed on Robert Saleh, but did Rodgers have something to do with him getting sacked? Certainly a lot of people seem to think that's the case.
Potentially. It was all the reports that they were going to change OC and they didn't do it and then he got sacked and now they've changed OCs anyway. Basket case. New York football has been very, very terrible.
The Dolphins are starting to look a little bit better with the return of Tua, maybe even sneak into playoffs kind of stuff. Are the Jets just putting this season on ice? They play Seahawks, then the Dolphins upcoming, and then Jags, winnable game, Rams, Bills, Dolphins. I don't think they're playing playoffs. I think you can definitely consider that done. Do they start looking at 2025? And does Rodgers even play out the season?
Well, there's reports they're going to either put him on IR or release him.
Yeah,
as in, so there's, that it's probably a whole bunch of contract incentives for them to do that. But basically say the season's done, we're looking elsewhere. And to answer your question, with the way the AFC West is at the moment, I don't think any other teams are coming out of the East. If the Dolphins got to catch the AFC West guys as well with the Judges in Denver. And it's going to be a challenge in those last couple spots.
We'll talk about all things playoff picture. We're starting to get a pretty reasonable look. We'll definitely look at some Super Bowl odds and the like in our NFL section later in the show. All right.
Got to go back to cricket though.
Yep. All right. We're looking forward to a few people maybe rubbing some salt in the wounds, but let's talk some first test cricket action. Australia have been thrashed, 295 run loss. It at one stage looked like it could have been well over 350 run loss. Thank you to Travis Head for making some runs and saving a little bit of face, but it was all India, other than maybe the first innings, which we'll get to in just a second. Obviously, the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, we know how damaging he can be, but we're also getting a look at the future with YB Jaiswal. He's pretty good at cricket. So let's start with the selections. I was scratching when I saw that Ravi Ashwin and Ravi Jadeja both left out of Gautam Gambhir's selections. So Ravi Ashwin is number 2 all-time wicket taker for India. Ravi Jadeja is number 5 all-time, 855 wickets between them. They decided to debut Nitish Kumar Reddy, who's a batting all-rounder. Didn't bowl heaps, but was batting pretty reasonably at 8. So you imagine either Ashwin or Jadeja got missed out because of the selection of this young fella. And then Harshit Rayana, who was pretty good with his debut, right arm quick, got picked over the likes of Akash Deep and Prasidh Krishna. And they did what we have not been able to do, and that's blood some youth and them do reasonably well straight away. This Indian side has 6 players 25 or younger.
Yeah. And I think going back to our classic analysis after the Gabba, we talked a lot about depth and potential talent bases, and we know how talent-rich that area here is, and just going to get
the Gabba 4 years ago after we lost at the Gabba.
And the amount of potential talent that they can find. And we were talking about the story earlier of Jaiswal. How do you say his name? Is
Jaiswal, I think.
His story of how he got into being a cricketer is quite amazing. So.
Essentially, if you haven't heard, was scouted at a young age. He's from Uttar Pradesh, up in the north of India. Moved down to Mumbai to try and follow his dreams. Playing academy cricket, sort of at the age of 12, 13. Found himself homeless. Was sleeping in a tent at certain aspects. And one of the coaches down there at one of the academies just saw the talent and invested heavily in him, and actually became his legal guardian for a time there. And obviously, it's paying off dividends now that the bloke's 22. But being able
to find the talent, I think is the impressive thing. But I think if we've got plenty of talent to have a look at.
Well, he's been on the radar since 2015, 2016. The kid was making triple hundreds for fun, coming through as a mid-teenager, and obviously very hard to break into that Indian squad, and he's taken the bull by the horns. And we'll get to him a little bit more when we're talking in the second innings, but obviously very good selection there. Yeah,
so to answer your question on selections, I think in hindsight it probably makes a lot of sense with the pitch that it was probably a fast bowlers kind of pitch. It looked a lot better. And they had Washington if they really needed to throw some spinners down. So I think they probably picked the right team.
Well, you're not going
to deny it. I think outrageous performances from Bumrah, etc. But I think it all made a lot of sense. For the Aussies, only one really different change, and that was McSweeney coming in as the opener as the David Warner replacement.
Yeah, so not maybe direct David Warner replacement, given that had Cam Green been healthy in this side, probably Cam Green and Mitch Marsh both play, and Smith or Labuschagne open. We did see that sort of work last summer, not really, with Smith carrying his bat against West Indies. But there's a David Warner-sized hole at the top of the order, at least for the games down under, that's for sure. And McSweeney pretty unlucky in that he got a couple of good seeds. But we'll get to our innings in just a second. Look, halfway through the first day, I actually thought, I hope we don't finish these guys in 3 days. I hope we actually get a contest, and then I hope I could go back and slap myself in the face for having such an outrageous thought. Not heaps in the deck, like certainly wasn't landmines. It was
very green day one, so it was fast.
It was fast, and there was a bit off the seam, but it's certainly quite different to the Wacker tests of old. Still a fair bit of bounce, but not like up at your throat kind of stuff. And credit to our quicks led by Josh Hazelwood, did a good job of getting on top of their top order. Dryswell gone for a duck, Padakal 2, 5 for Coley, and it was actually Punt and the debutant Reddy that sort of steadied the ship and getting India to 150. Yep. How were you feeling when we were going out to bat?
Yeah, well, I thought that was, the game plan we'd done what we needed for day, the start. And
First
it was
2
like,
seconds.
It looked like another 3-day test at that point. Like it was
reeked of it, didn't it?
Yeah, it was going to be quick. There was going to be a lot of wickets. And there were a lot of wickets.
So the game started to turn on its head pretty quickly, mostly due to a bloke called Jasprit Bumrah. Got McSweeney for 10, he got Khawaja for 8, and then first ball duck for Steve Smith. We're just talking about this pre-show. I think, best since Bradman Smith, 2019, 2020 Smith, probably flicks that off his pads and picks up 4 runs for it. And clearly his hand-eye is starting to slow just that tiny little bit, and this one gets him.
Maybe not there as much as it was.
And the stuff that you used to scratch your head and think, how does he do that? Walking across his stumps first ball, and we used to go, oh, yes, he's just played it. I've played something similar. We've got the highlights in the background for us.
This is day 4.
The stuff that he is able to do with pretty much no footwork and just walking across because of his hand-eyes, he doesn't seem like he can do it anymore.
Yeah, Father Time catches up to everyone, unfortunately. And it seems like it's starting to do that for Smith, especially with the motor dismissal. It seems to be a lot. He seems to be getting hit in the pads a lot. Yeah. But he wasn't the only one in the top order for Australia.
No, certainly the entire top order. Marnus we'll get to in just a second. He had a 50-ball run 2.
I just want to say on that golden duck, for Smith, I think that the stat was like it's 194 his previous innings, no golden ducks, and he's had 2 in these last 4. So
right.
Yeah.
He got a cracker for New South Wales as well, that one that he left in the Shield. Shouldered arms and got struck on the pads and got fired without any Hawkeye. So, 3 ducks in the last month and a bit of cricket for Smudger. Pretty unusual.
Marnus?
Yeah, Marnus, 2 off 50. Saw a few rocks but wasn't able to score.
Got dropped on 0 though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Coley, something he probably should have gobbled up. But
yeah, I think Coley would be pretty happy with how things went in this test.
Yeah, considering he dropped him on 0, and then an hour later they get him on 2. So I think they'll take that.
You can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to do the old school, see off as many rocks as we can. We're in crisis mode. I kind of liked it, survive. I feel like so much of the modern cricketers no, we've got to get back on. We've got to get back on top. We've got to take it back to the bowler. And yeah, that does work occasionally. Or other times they play a shot and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
You shouldn't be playing.
We're 3 down. Yeah, don't play that shot. But anyways, he ends up going back for 2 off, not many. Yep. Marsh also only made 6. And we were kind of lucky to see a few late runs. This was early day 2 from Starkey and Carey and Hazelwood actually hanging around to get us to a massive 104 because it looked like it was going to be 75 for a bit there.
Yeah, when Stark's your top scorer, which is I think the 4th time he's done that for Australia. About a 9. That's a
well. How many times recently has Cummins or Stark or Carey top scored? A lot.
Well, they've had to save games essentially, get runs because our top orders collapsed essentially.
So that brings me to the next question: Is it just getting harder to score runs down under? Since the introduction of this newish, I say new, it's about the last 4 years. Kookaburra cricket ball got a bit more lacquer on it. Stays harder for a bit longer. Maybe it swings a little bit more. We've seen in the Shield that there's been less runs, certainly in the post-COVID era. Was just Jasprit Bumrah, and it doesn't matter which.
Yeah, the
batsman you sent out there, the bloke was just on fire, and that action that it's hard to pick up, and the in-swingers coming back in. I think he's the best quick in world cricket at the moment.
Yeah, I think his average is under 20 at the moment now.
He's a freak, man. He's
after getting that wicket of Marnus, I think that was the stat.
And just took the captaincy, in stride. You could see Coley making a lot of sort of decision makings in the field, much like Cummins and Smith kind of operate. Yeah. So credit to Boomerang, incredibly talented, and I'm a bit scared for this day night upcoming with him with the pink ball in his hands.
Yep.
Or is it just a lack of preparation?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting coincidence here that Marnus's run of form is almost directly in line with when the new Kookaburra came out, for when his form dropped off post-COVID and the new ball type came. But I think that, the ball was there to be more advantageous to our bowlers as well. So, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to prepare for a new ball. I don't think it should be causing that much issues now, which probably leads to...
Same ball that Jaiswal was smacking all around the park.
Correct. So I think it's probably the second point. The lack of prep, the lack of red ball cricket, the lack of maybe good quality first-class cricket overall. I think you've got the stats there of what the guys played leading up to.
Yeah, I've got the games. So this is the summer. So McSweeney played 2 Shield games and 2 Australia A games. So he actually played the most red ball cricket with 4. Kawaja played 3, good on him, and then Carey had played 3 Shield games and was top scorer in the Shield so far. This is where I start to scratch my head. Marnus 2 Shield games, Smith and Head 1, Stark 1, Cummins 0, Hazelwood 0, Lyon 2. With the quicks, I kind of you don't want to burn them out going into a long summer. Yep. I get that. There's probably our bowling quartet probably picks itself, 1,000 wickets between them. Yep. Bowlers didn't let us down in this. And
we've got plenty of depth at that kind of area as well at the moment. So
yeah, exactly. If one of them,
but they're the ones not struggling historically too.
Correct. So. And when we're playing a white ball series against Pakistan, and at this same venue a week and a bit ago, there was less than 10,000 people in there to watch essentially an Australia A side go out to play, and Paddy Cummins has taken the night off to go see Coldplay. Don't get me wrong, listen to Yellow and Coldplay's hits. Yeah. They're a good band. I get it. But Cricket Australia obviously doesn't give a fuck because they know someone's going to watch on TV.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Pat Cummins doesn't obviously give a fuck about these games. And I think the red ball, preparation is lacking.
Yeah, significantly.
They hadn't played Test cricket since March.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's the schedule. But I would have think to prepare for this, and I think this has always been the thing about, especially around Ashes time, we talk about Ashes and not enough Shield cricket gets played. I think also not enough high quality Shield cricket gets played where your best players are playing in the Shield cricket, which then improves the overall quality of the Shield cricket. Yeah. So, these guys, if they all played for New South Wales or they played for the various teams, would then be really, really, really good.
It never happened. It never happened.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe when Starkey and Nathan Lyon were playing for New South. They played one game for New South Wales.
I think there was one game. Yeah, where
I was like,
nearly
this never happens. Yeah. But it should. You're right. It should be happening 3 or 4 times a summer.
Yeah, because then guys like McSweeney that are playing elsewhere come out and then they're playing against the best guys in Australia, and then it's hopefully elevating their game. Whereas we don't get in that, as we kind of seen there. Credit to Uzi. He's probably got nothing better to do, so he's playing the most. But
Uzi strikes me as just a cricket nerd. He wants to be, he probably wants to be there. But and knows.
He's a red ball. He's a red ball specialist, I think.
And that's there is an asterisk there because he's played 3, and then the other sticks, at least all of them, are involved in that white ball setup.
Series, yes, yeah. But why are we doing the white ball series?
Well, I'll take it off the players then. I'll go back to Cricket Australia. And why are we putting on these? Because clearly they don't care about the Pakistan result.
No.
That's what Cricket Australia. Cricket Australia showed that.
We got hammered most
to
of
us.
those games.
The Australian public didn't care. Because no one was there, and
Foxtel probably did.
Exactly. and it's about TV, and you probably get a few people in Pakistan watching, and the TV rights obviously are an important part of the way that cricket functions as a business these days. But the Australian public, I think, is kind of peeking out, going, hang on. Yeah, we do like the advent. Most people can watch some T20 cricket. But I think most Australians still have Test cricket at the pinnacle. Yeah. And anything that's taking away from the preparation is not a good thing.
Especially one-day games. It's...
Outside of World Cups, who cares?
Exactly.
No one cares anymore.
Yeah. It's probably should be a tournament format at this point. So.
That said, they could have all prepared a lot better, and Bumrah, and we've got to get to this kid Jaiswal, were just a class above. And maybe we just sound like whinging Aussies at the moment who would like to, have a week on the board of the, Cricket Australia and throw out 2 cents in.
Yeah, well, there's always been there's been the rhetoric recently that, Cummins picks his mates and he's playing all his mates.
So he's a cricket captain.
yes. But having said that, I think, Cricket Australia should probably have a look at, why didn't we travel in winter?
At all?
At all. Yes, I guess we played the Ashes last year and they're having a break. But then also you got a massive tournament in India. Why wouldn't you travel somewhere, go to Northern Hemisphere somewhere, play someone?
Or do they play too much cricket and they thought we need some R&R, and India, speaking of the other, have just come off 3 tests at home and they lost all 3. Maybe there's an argument that they need more rest and they need to be able to go to more Coldplay concerts.
Yeah. But they need more rest because they're playing too much white ball cricket.
Yeah.
So they go back to our point. It's
they
just don't play enough of this format, I think, is where we're getting at.
Yeah. Or they're not playing enough red ball cricket total.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's give some credit to we already gave some props to Jasprit Bumrah. This kid, YB Jaiswal, we spoke about his, come up about, coming from nothing and a mentor / coach showing a lot of faith in him from a young age. 200-run opening partnership for him and KL Rahul, highest opening partnership by Indians in Australia. Yep. Goes on to make 161. He's 22 years of age. He already has a century on debut against the Windies last June, and then back-to-back hundreds against England, and including tying Wasim Akram's test record of 12 sixes in an innings. He's played 50 games plus for Rajasthan Royals, 23 T20 internationals, and can bring up his 100 with an uppercut ramp for 6 over fine leg. I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah.
Is this what we're looking at for the next 15 years?
Potentially. Well, you mentioned 26 players under 25, I think it was. They're in their kind of transition phase, I guess, the end of the Kohli era.
Yeah, so Kohli, Sharma, Jadeja, Ashwin.
Yeah, they're kind of transitioning out of the era. They're working on that, whereas we're kind of still in that, I'm going to call it the Smith era, and Smith, Stark, Cummins, and we're probably at the start of where we need to start transitioning out of that, but where's our young talent, I think, is where we're...
Yeah, we don't have the depth and the people banging down the door, which is what we'll get to in just a second. Yeah. You're right, because you look at the next 2 years, Khawaja and Lyon will retire / get moved on, you would think. Then Smudge, Starkey... Cummins is still only 31. I think he's still got a little bit longer.
He could be a captain.
Carey's a bit older than what you'd think, but again, form-wise, not looking that bad.
Yeah, I think he's 30 when we looked at it the other day.
So the next 2 years, you're really only looking at Khawaja and Lyon, and then possibly Smudger, depending on how he goes. And then after that, you're probably looking at Hazelwood and then Cummins, Carey, and the rest.
Yep.
When do we start making the call on young talent?
Yeah, well...
Does it need to happen for Adelaide?
Great question. Maybe we'll get to that.
Okay.
Because Cam Green kind of comes into that conversation of young talent that we did blood and
doing very well.
Seems to have worked out for us.
And I really hope that he's recovering well from that, because back surgery is nothing to sneeze at his age. Although a lot of quicks have had it and come back and done quite well.
Yep.
I don't know if you can get beaten by 295 runs and say we're not making a change.
Yeah. So finish off. You got to mention Kohli getting his 100.
Yes.
7th test 100 in Australia and first test in 29 innings, I think, or something like that.
For him?
Yeah, been a while for him. Sucks that he did it against us here. We're going to be disappointed.
He loves batting down here.
But yeah, he obviously lifts to the occasion, especially Australia in Australia. It's one of the toughest places to win Test cricket. So, yeah.
Is it though? They've beaten us 2 series in a row. South Africa's beaten us down here. We're dropping one-off games to West Indies again. I don't know how much that...
Well, yeah, the fortress that it was is not...
it's penetrable.
Because you talk about the record at the... not to whack about it, at Perth, you talk about the record was their record at Gabba. You talk about our record on pink tests, and
that's what
all of that stuff's kind of up for grabs.
Bro, I thought if we win this test, we go and it's 2-0 because we don't lose a pink test at home. That's what that's before this test started. I felt big test, we win this, we're up 2-0, and then we could maybe afford to drop something later in the summer.
Yeah.
Now my brain's like, fuck. Boomer had us on toast without a pink ball.
Yep.
Imagine, he's coming in off that short run up with that whippy hyperextension action, and we look even more fearful than we did in this test.
Yeah.
Like I'm shitting it even more.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as the ball starts moving, the Australians seem to collapse.
No one's getting on the front foot to him.
Yeah. That leads into the second innings, which we had that horror start. 4 for 17. 4 for 17.
Thank God. Thank you, Travis Head.
Made it reasonable.
Yep. 89 off 101.
Yep.
We lose by 295 instead of 350, 400, whatever it could have been.
And I think back to your previous point, Carey, Marsh, and Head probably is our main run scorers. I think there's definitely big issues in the top end. I think you can't average 20 from your top 4 batsmen across 2 innings.
Of course not.
That's not a recipe for success at all. Was it 23 tests without a century for Steve Smith?
For Smudger.
So his longest drought.
And that I think should have an asterisk on it because he did carry his bat in that West Indies game. So essentially if someone had been able to stick with him, he probably does have 100 not too long ago. I would have laughed at you a year ago if you said Marnus should be in.
We did.
I did, yeah. And we haven't played that much test cricket since. Yeah. It doesn't look good for him. I think I've got the tweet here on his recent form, and I hate to do this because I'm a big fan.
Not great.
I've got the sticker right there.
Yeah.
9 of his last 10 test innings, he's scored 10 or less. Got 1 ton in his last 41 test innings, and 11 of his last 18 are 10 or less.
Yep.
So he's only made double digits. I'm not talking about getting to 30 or 50, double digits, 7 out of his last 18 innings.
Yep.
I think his saving grace is that no one's really banging the door down.
Yeah. So that probably goes into the conversation to where to from now. Jimmy's thrown out a comment there about dividing the locker room, and there had been some talk, rumours about the bowlers aren't real happy with the batsmen, and they worked really hard day one.
Do a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
And all barring Smudge and Khawaja, all the bowlers are the older guys.
Yep. But having said that, the second innings for India, the bowlers didn't really. They kind of lost their way. When we got Labuschagne bowling bounces in and over and then switching to spinners and then Travis Head's coming out, you've lost your way essentially. That's the white flag. So I think overall you can't really say there's a divide in the locker room when the whole team probably didn't play as well as they thought they could play in this game.
And I also I don't know how much to buy into those when it's an outsider trying to question the team dynamics of a team that has won World Cups together and retained nations together.
Yeah,
and
we won the World Test Championship.
Together. The Australian public is very quick to turn on people.
Yes. So, having said that, who are they turning on? And I think if anyone was going to be changed, Marnus is probably at the top of the list, unfortunately, because I think Aussie's done what he is Aussie, and I don't think Usman's going to get.
I think he's
changed.
fine.
I think he's fine, and
I think if
he can retire gracefully when he wants.
Yep, I think if you pick McSweeney, you need to give him a couple chances.
Exactly.
I think it's not a good thing to do to a cricketer or a person to say, "Yep, you can play for Australia." Oh, there's 1 test you didn't make runs. You got 2 Jaffas.
Yep.
See ya.
Yeah, Marnus. We've talked about his struggles. Then you go on to Smith, and you go. He's probably on the same track as...
Yeah, he's like where Marnus was a year ago without having played that much cricket, in my mind.
Yes. So he's probably safe for now because he's Steve Smith. Yeah. But, another bad series, and maybe next summer if he starts poorly, we'll then be asking those questions.
Head safe.
Head's been... Head's probably been the best of the batsmen.
Yep.
And
I think Mitch Marsh has been pretty good too.
Miss Marsh, I think, has been good.
Carey safe.
Carey's safe. He again be good. Those three were our top scorers in the second innings. So, and I don't think you make a bowling change at this stage.
I don't think so.
I know Spencer Johnson's been bowling really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Todd Murphy.
Scotty Boland always does well.
Yeah, Todd Murphy's not too far away. And yeah, if they want to change something up, but I think they'll stick with the 4 bowlers. I think
bowlers didn't lose us this test.
Yeah, I think it's probably Marnus. But then if it's Marnus, who's coming in?
And that's where I don't think they make a change because Josh Inglis is in this squad and he's making some runs.
Yep, made some runs.
But the guys obviously that, had been earmarked to possibly get this gig with McSweeney beating him out in Marcus Harris and Cameron Bancroft don't have any recent runs to speak of in the Shield. You feel for Cam Bancroft because the last 2 Shield seasons he's been phenomenal. But it's been a horrendous summer for him. But I actually really feel for him because he had a great opportunity to get back in and sort of try to make amends for the sandpaper gate. And I really do hope that he gets to play Test cricket again.
Yep.
Do you throw a 19-year-old Sam Constance to the Wolves?
Yeah, well, I think Harris and Renshaw, there's a bunch of retreads you could try again, but they haven't really been successful. Mm-hmm. And I guess Harris was probably number 2 to McSweeney in the scored runs in the Shield in that conversation. But do you play him at 3? I don't know. Whereas
Harris would open and
you'd move McSweeney potentially, yeah. But and then the same conversation, maybe Sam makes the most sense as a 3, but he's 19.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure to come in a squad in India. But having said,
he's 3 years younger than Joshua.
Yeah, but maybe that's where you start. Having that series, get that experience, confidence, and then he turns into the next Steve Smith, Ricky Ponting, etc. Or is it?
Well, it's saying when he made those back-to-back tons for New South Wales, that he was the youngest person to do so in the Shield since Ricky Ponting.
Really? Yeah.
Again, he's young. You don't want to
exactly. You don't want to blood him too early.
Overhype him just yet.
Yeah. Or blood him too early and then stunt his growth. But again, it's on the individual. For most of this, he could come in and just light it on fire and be a generational talent. That is also potential, but.
Henry Hunt, he's been earmarked for quite some time from South Australia. He's made 2 tons in the Shield this year, averaging about 41. Hilton Cartwright has played Test cricket for Australia. He's averaging 61.
Footbrush is in there. That doesn't get talked about a lot. But
he's down there if they wanted to give the Footbrush another chance. But there's no one banging the door down. You take Carey's numbers aside here because he's in the side.
Well, you could just put him there as a mark. Like he's averaging 90 and then it drops down to the guys averaging 60, 60, 40, 60, 60.
What about Inglis here? His average this year in the Shield is 99.
From 2 games.
Albeit he's only played the 2 Shield matches. I think he was in that Australia A side.
Yep.
And he's in the squad.
Yeah.
If they make a change,
it makes the most logical sense for Inglis to come in. We don't think they'll do wholesale changes. Like they'll change the openers completely and, I think have 3 or 4 bats different, but
I think it'd be detrimental to blow it all up.
Yeah, I think if you want to make a tweak, maybe sit Marnus down. Maybe it's a kick in the butt he needs, and give Inglis a go. And then when do you bat him? Do you slide it up?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Smith go to 3, heads 4, and he's 5.
Yeah, I haven't thought this through
because he's the wicket keeper.
He could open, and McSweeney could go back to 3 or 4 where he bats for South Australia. Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily advocating for it either.
Yeah, but if we just follow the storyline,
if he's picked, my feeling is you can't lose like that and not make a change.
Yeah,
that would be my feeling.
Yeah. So if you pick him, where are you playing him?
Open.
So a new opener.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm speculating.
Is there a world where you have the young fellas open and Aussie slides down?
No, I don't think you do that either because Khawaja has really made opening.
That's his thing.
His thing.
Yeah.
Since his recall, I don't have the answers. The Australian public is quick to turn, and I feel for Marnus because I think we had this conversation about a year ago, and I laughed.
Yeah. Well, I think that same conversation. Also, the head conversation. Do you move head?
Yeah,
head doesn't want to do it.
Doesn't want to do it, but he's batting pretty good at 5.
Yeah, but for the team dynamic, do you play him? as a more David Warner replacement.
'Cause that's what everyone saw.
Yeah.
Someone that can be attacking and,
Offensive, etc.
That's right.
Yeah, and then you can protect the young fellas a little bit, and you put English more in the middle there. Yeah, I don't know.
Lucky it's not a 3-day turnaround.
Yes.
Had a little bit of time to think about it.
Yeah.
There's a PM's 11 2-dayer this weekend here in Canberra.
Yeah, watch the flights and see see what Aussies get on planes.
Well, they've named the PM's 11. Do you want me to? There's, I think Renshaw was in there.
Where are they playing that?
Yeah.
Here? Okay.
Let's see if we've got a squad here. I also don't know if this is how many of the Indian stars are going to play in this. All right, Jack Edwards, captain. Scotty Boland's in there. Sammy Harper, Sam Constas, Matt Renshaw. Probably the only guys that you would think could push for a selection. Sam Harper's probably not going to get picked for Australia. It's really only Sam Constas and Matt Renshaw you'd think that would have an opportunity. That's a lot of pressure for them as well. I don't have the answers here, man. I'm just open to the Marnus conversation now.
Yeah. I definitely think he's been unfortunately struggling. His bowling's really not adding that much.
Hey, he could bowl 135. I think he and Brian Fletcher had a bet that he could bowl 135.
Here's a wild stat for you.
Bowl 135.
Hazelwood's averaging more in this test than Marnus is, but Marnus is bowling faster than Hazelwood was.
On average?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Interesting. Yeah, where to? Do you think anyone... Do they need to make a change? I'm talking like they have to make a change, like it's the end of Australian cricket.
Well, I think they'll make a change. I'm always with the young fellas. I'd love to see a young fella. I'd love to see Sam get a go, conscious, but also, wary of that. But we've definitely thrown a few young fellas chances, and they've been successful initially. We threw Will Pekoski, got to start early and batted pretty well for all his other issues.
Unusual circumstances with him being hitting the head so much.
Go back to Phil Hughes as well. Phil Hughes, I thought, again, we gave him a chance. But I think both cases, those guys were early 20s as a comparison instead of 19. But you never know. For the amount of cricket we've watched, I kind of think of, the Steve Waugh, Ricky Ponting era, into Michael Clark, into Steve Smith, into who's that guy? Maybe it's Qantas. Maybe
pressure.
Yeah, no, that is a lot of pressure when you name those guys and that kind of transition. But I think we're at that point where we're like, what is the next
where's
era
the future?
Next era of Australian cricket coming from?
Yeah. The other thing is, it's one test. It's one test. You can lose your first match of a 5-game series, go back and win 3-1, 4-1.
Yep.
And we saw some really good patches.
Yep.
Really good patches. The bowlers were good. Middle order batting, not too bad at all. We've just got this top order's got to make some runs.
We got to score runs.
Got to make some runs.
Yep. Yeah, it's a struggles.
IPL auction was last night.
Before we finish, India, Rohit.
Sharma.
What do you do? Shubman might be healthy as well.
Yeah.
Can't sacrifice the young fella.
No, I think Patakar might be in trouble.
Yeah, and move Rahul down.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Rahul, I think before this test, would have been the guy that I said would make way. Sharma is in Australia now, or has boarded his flight. You would expect he's going to be in that side regardless. I think Patakar makes way.
Yep. Do you think any of the spinners get a go in Adelaide?
Good question. Do they go with 2 spinners, with Sundar and either Jadeja or Ashwin? Do we see...
Yeah, do we see a fast bowler go?
Both come back in?
Or being a day-night test leads to more fast bowling swingers? So
But they barely bowled Reddy as is. Again, Reddy didn't play bad, so I don't see how he deserves to be dropped. Maybe Jadeja is going to keep running the drinks, which is crazy to...
Can we check to see if he's got an Australian passport floating around?
Does he want to pledge his allegiance?
Yeah.
Could you imagine the man who has murdered us on so many occasions, Jadu?
Yeah, we need some depth.
And well, that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll just name 5 blokes that could be in there.
Yeah, we're like, who's ready for Test cricket? Yeah. And we're like, where do you fit in? You know,
well, their old heads are potentially getting kicked out by the young fellas.
They're doing maybe what we need to do in the next few years.
Yeah,
but
18 months.
Let's see how this Adelaide Test goes. We are very good in pink ball tests in Australia. We haven't lost one.
Yep.
Could be famous last week.
Yeah, they're afraid of the pink ball test.
IPL auction was overnight.
Yep.
Rishabh Pant record 4.9 million Australian dollars to go to Lucknow Super Giants. We have seen.
We didn't talk about him at all.
Yeah,
considering coming back from the massive
horrific car crash. Had to sort of learn how to use his body again, and it doesn't look like he's lost too much from a cricketing sense. That's for sure. Big investment from LSG to pay him what they have, but when he's on, he's one of the most destructive batsmen in world cricket, regardless of what colour the ball is. Shreyas Iyer, nearly fetching the same amount, 4.87 million AUDs to Punjab Kings. Arshdeep Singh also to Punjab Kings, and Pat Cummins, both him and Singh going around that 3.2 million AUDs. Paddy to Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Was Paddy the most expensive international? I see this Aussie there.
Yep, most expensive international. Him ahead of Joss Butler for internationals. Starkey, bit of a pay cut from what he took home last IPL, but still pocketing a cool $2.2 million. He's going to Delhi. Yep. So we've got sort of a reason here to keep following the Delhi Capitals with some more Aussie influence. Yeah, just worth mentioning. I think IPL kick off obviously in about April next year, after we've just whinged about too much white ball cricket. But it is the pinnacle, and you can't.
That's how they get paid.
Exactly right. And now the way that the world cricket schedule works is you're actually not sacrificing any other series to go play in the IPL, given the way that the calendar is structured.
But you do have what happened this year, and you don't play anything in the middle of it.
When there's a T20 World Cup,
there's 12 months between Red Ball series.
Yeah, and I don't know if the T20 World Cup is interesting and is a license to
print
money, so it's probably going to keep running every 2 years. I don't know what the answer is. I think if you're not
World Cup every 2 years.
If you're not involved in that setup, then everyone needs to be playing. I think it's a Shield county cricket in England. I don't know. Yeah. I don't have the answers, man. It was hard to see, and we're watching Bumrah take poles again, and maybe we just didn't give him enough credit. He's the best bowler, best quick in the world.
Yeah, and I feel like our conditions also play really well for him. So
yeah.
He's definitely benefiting from being out here.
Like, look at that McSweeney ball. That hasn't bounced a whole lot.
It stayed down. It's nipped in good 6 inches.
That's just a seed. Yep. All right. That'll do us. Get at us in the comments. Particularly wouldn't mind hearing from any Indian listeners what you think about the Indian selections, because that's obviously something that you might have better insights than what we do. It came as a bit of a surprise for us to see Ashwin and Jadeja not playing. Obviously, didn't make much of a difference.
Yeah. When's that next test start?
Thursday week, I believe.
Thursday week. Yep.
All right, let's talk some NFL.
Oh, he broke his ankles.
We'll start in the AFC. So we'll start in the AFC East. The Bills looking pretty good, beating the Chiefs. They the real deal. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, they did that last week. Just caveat of that.
On a bye today.
On a bye today. Armageddon, I think it was. So 6 teams: Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jags, Saints, and Jets, all on byes. It's interesting, those 2 teams, because I think they're both playing defense better than their offensive counterparts are at this stage.
Bills and Chiefs, that is?
Yeah, Bills and Chiefs.
Definitely the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think both kind of lack real true wide receiver options at the moment. And like their running backs are kind of banged up and going back and forth. Like they don't have, they don't have the bell cows. They don't have a Saquon. Let's put it that way.
No,
but their defense been keeping them in. Yeah, exactly, keeping them in games. So that was a Bills home game, I think it wasn't it.
It was, yes.
Yes, yeah. I think they've gone really, really well.
I put this to you before the podcast. In the AFC, do you think there's anyone that can make the Super Bowl that's not the Chiefs, Bills, or Ravens?
Scroll up to the top there for me. Oh no, this one. The list of teams.
Oh, do you want the standings or?
Yeah, standings. Just after. What's at the top? No, yeah. It's all right.
I got it sorted by division.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw some names there. The Chargers, the Broncos, the Steelers.
Yeah, well, at the
Texans.
top of the Chiefs are the Steelers. Probably not. Ravens need to right the ship a little bit.
No, I think the Ravens can make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think they were definitely talented. Their defense is probably what's holding them back, which is odd for Ravens. But yeah, outside of that, it's a tough ask. Some team needs to have a good month of football and ascend. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone can take that reins.
We spoke about it when we were criticising New York football. The Jets, they're 3-8. Their GM Joe Douglas was fired. The Dolphins are 5-6. Do you think they could sneak into the playoffs?
It's going to be tough because they're very far behind in their wildcard race at the moment.
Yeah, so Chargers and Broncos in the AFC West, both 2 games ahead, 2.5 games for the Chargers.
The Ravens are in that conversation too. So
yeah,
it's going to be tough to make a wild card spot with a 2-game deficit. But I think they'll win a lot of games to finish the year. They're 100%, but way better with Tua.
So much
Tua
better.
playing for them. So, but it might be a little too late.
Yeah, I agree. They play the Packers upcoming on Thanksgiving. That's
They should beat Jets. They probably could beat the Texans. Niners, they could beat this Niners team. Browns,
Jets.
They could.
So they have the Jets twice.
Yeah, they could go 5-1.
have the Browns.
So in theory, they could be 10-7, which is on the cusp of a wild card team, which is probably about accurate for where they could be.
Yeah, I think there's just a few too many good teams in that schedule with the Packers, Texans, 49ers.
Yep. Yeah.
So they'd probably win at least 3 games, but 3-3 is not going to get you there.
Exactly. Some of those games probably coin flips, but yeah, they're going to have to win a fair amount.
Patriots are 3-9. They probably trying to get through to the bye. Drake Mays look good at times.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be thinking about the draft, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, next year.
Patriots will also be thinking, when do we put Drake May on ice for the season?
Yeah, good question.
Play another month, I think, and then there's no reason why Drake May should be playing post-week.
Win too many games and they're outside the top 5 pick.
Yeah, that's right. You need to tank a little bit. And I just also...
I assume they're going to play the Jets at least.
The risk of his injury. Yeah, the risk of injury, I think, needs to be
but then also
of priority when you spend a top 3 pick
True.
on him, and he actually looks like a pretty good quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, definitely talented.
What about in the AFC West? That's where your Broncos live.
Mm-hmm.
You said
Very competitive.
You said last week that you reckon Bo Nix is sneaky value for Rookie of the Year. I'll check on the odds. Jaden Daniels had another good day statistically today.
Yeah, I said give it 2 weeks and he might be the favourite. So
I don't think he's going to be favourite. He'll be shorter than where he was, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with Washington losing, Daniels threw another 2 picks today. But he scored 3 touchdowns in total, so he takes his overall total to...
I think he threw for 2 and he rushed for 2.
No, he was 2 and 1.
Okay, yeah.
2 and 1. I think
It's
it
your
was.
fantasy quarterback.
I'm pretty sure that was what it was.
I think that sounds about right.
Because he added 3, so he's at 17, and Nix is at 21 overall because he had 2 and 200.
The odds, Jaden Daniels is $1.71, Bo Nix is $2.25. 2 weeks ago when we looked at that was like $1.10 to $12.
Yep. Yeah, I told you should have got on it, bro.
Yeah.
He's gonna win it because the numbers. People starting to wake up to the statistics. Like he had a way better month. He had a way better October than Daniels did, but Daniels had the better September because he started high.
Yeah, he had that completion percentage of 83% or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But then they're looking at it like Washington hasn't beaten a team over 500.
Yep.
And the other key stat I saw today was for 200-plus pass games with 2 touchdowns, he's had 3. Nix has had 5. And Nix is also, I think Denver has beaten 4 or 5 teams over 500 as well.
Denver's starting to look sneaky good.
We got a pretty good run home too. So.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that in just a second. I'm going to get some numbers here for Nix versus Daniels.
So Daniels looking better today because he ran more. He hadn't been running because of his ribs, but post-bye he's improved on his rushing, so his rushing numbers should improve. But his passing numbers...
They're so close.
Yeah.
So Nix has 2,548 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 intercepts. And Daniels has 2,613 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 intercepts. Comparable passing numbers, Nick's probably slightly ahead there. And then Daniels is going to have a fair few more rushing touchdowns, isn't he?
Yes. I think Nix has 4 and Daniels has...
He's only got 5. So it's really just yards, I think. Yeah, he's going
to have way more.
He's got 556 rushing yards for 5 touchdowns, and Nix has got 300 for 4. Yeah. So Daniel's clearly the better runner.
Yep.
It's closer than it certainly was 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and Denver's got the Browns coming up, so you can keep that. So it's Browns in a bye into... I can't remember, into Chargers again, then Bengals into Chiefs. So the Chargers-Chiefs is going to be...
last 3 games is hard. But look, if they win the next 2, they're pretty much in.
Oh, they've got Colts there too, I didn't.
Yeah, Browns and Colts, very winnable games. Mm-hmm. They could get, in that lead up to Christmas and be like, we're close, or we just need to beat one of these good teams once.
And we were close to beating both the Chargers and Chiefs too. So
that's right. They were block field goal from beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, should have won that game. And without Pat Surtain getting injured in that first game, I think our defense plays a lot better, and we almost stole that game at the end as well. So they're pretty competitive. I still maintain they're a 10-17 and the 10-7 team, and they're kind of on that track. Stake 1 or 2 more wins, and they'll definitely earn a wild card for sure.
That's a good little segue into the Chiefs, who are 10-1. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a block field goal away from losing to the Broncos. They
got
very lucky to
the
Panthers today. Yeah. Are they? You see 10-1, you see their record, and you think, fuck, should be Super Bowl favourites. There's a few question marks.
Yeah, they're the worst 10-1 team
ever.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to get back. The line hasn't been that good. Their wide receivers is banged up, as we know. They've gone through it so much. And, they're bringing Hopkins up to speed. Kels is not getting any younger. They should have Pacheco back. Mm-hmm. But, they've been using Hunt as
been quite good.
He's been good, but, he's not a young fella. Yeah. So... and the defense is they've been low-scoring games. The defense has been keeping them in games. So
Steve Spagnola's him, dude.
Yes.
His defenses have been very good over the last few years.
Yep.
They're $6.
Yep.
They're still the back-to-back defending champs. They're 10-1. They got Patrick Mahomes, who, albeit by his lofty standards, isn't having his best season. I'm sure the stat that he cares most about is their wins and losses.
Yep.
Certainly can't write them off, but I think a lot of AFC teams will be like, this might be our chance to pounce on them.
Yeah, I think they'll probably still have 14-3, 13-4 team. But
I don't think they're going to lose 3 games going in. Do you know what I mean? They're probably like a 15-2 team kind of thing.
Yeah, but, come playoff football, they might get upset by one of those guys. They run into a red-hot Ravens team, for example, and they get upset. Because I just don't think they're built as a complete Super Bowl team that they were in recent years. There's a lot of question marks, which is probably also scary. They could also hit their form.
Way better.
Yeah, they could hit their form.
Imagine they're a 10-1 team and then they actually start getting good in December. And
Pacheco comes back and it really opens their offense up, for example. That could be scary.
They've got a few interesting matchups coming home, but certainly they win a fair few of these. Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. So that run around Christmas might be a little bit interesting.
Yeah, Chargers, Steelers, Broncos, and in that kind of conversation of teams that will be fighting for playoff spots. Texans as well. They should get jobs done against Raiders and Browns.
They could have 13, 14 wins before Christmas. So who knows?
Yeah, West is very fun in the AFC at the moment.
The bottom of the West are Raiders. They're 2-9. Lots of interest around Shedeur Sanders and also his tweets. Mm-hmm. So right on Raiders' losses has been tweeting, "Thank you, God."
Yep.
They lose again today. We should check his tweets, actually. See if he said it today.
Yeah.
Raiders lose Gardner Minshew, unfortunately, probably his season.
Yeah, season.
With broken collarbone.
So they've got Ritter, I think, whether they go out and see if Daniel Jones wants to join them. So, there's some talk about that. But, they're...
Poor Daniel Jones, if that's the case.
Yeah, they're most likely going to have a top 3 pick and be looking at quarterback. So, Sanders makes a lot of sense. He took a pretty dirty hit yesterday.
Real dirty, yeah. I'm glad his knee was okay. Yeah.
It was
check that out
and late.
If you haven't seen it. Real late, real low. I don't think a flag got thrown.
No.
Crazy scenes.
Yeah.
AFC North, this is a fun-ish division. I don't know about the Steelers. You know, they beat the Ravens last week. Then they lose to the Browns.
Jameis Winston's him.
Yeah, Winston can knock off good teams whenever he feels like it, it seems like.
Depends on if he's ready to eat some W's or not.
100%.
He's funny, though.
Maybe there needed to be some concerns on offense last week. Like, their defense played awesome. They've been really one of the only defenses that's stood up to the Ravens on offense. Consistency is going to be an issue. I don't think they've got what it takes on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of their play style to potentially win Super Bowls because it's run the ball, play action, throw deep. That's the game plan. Yeah, and they've got two of the best deep guys in Williams and Pickens.
Yeah, Pickens is very good.
And Danger Russ loves to do that. But they need a strong run game. And I'm just not sure because Warren's been playing more. They're trying to get him more involved. But I just don't think that combination of Warren and Harris is good enough to do that long-term come playoff. Yes, the defense is probably going to limit games to, you got to score 20 points, and they could probably do that. But I think in the AFC, they'll run into two tough teams. I don't think you beat a good Chiefs team or the Bills. I don't think you beat them come playoff time.
The odds seem to reflect our thoughts there. They're $26 to win the Super Bowl, whereas the Ravens, who sit second in the North, $8. Nice litmus test for them tomorrow against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. The Chargers... the Harbaugh, two brothers going at it from a head coaching perspective.
I think John's won both times they've played because he beat 49ers in the Super Bowl. And what was the other time? I think the two times they played them that year, they beat them.
They've never gone head-to-head as head coaches, they have they?
Yeah, as head coaches. Because
yep.
he was 49ers head coach at the time, and John was the Ravens. And I think they played once during that season or the season before.
Right.
Leading up to that. So yeah,
Ravens
I think John's got it twice over Jim so far. Check the tail of the tape for
that. Ravens, what do you think?
Their offense is good and their defense is bad, which is odd for Ravens.
Yeah, very opposite to the way that they often play.
They've probably got the MVP. You might have to.
Well, I've got some odds.
Has he fallen?
I think Josh Allen's actually overtaken him for MVP.
Oh, well, one good game tomorrow and he might jump back in.
Exactly right.
They've got Derrick Henry, who's arguably the next guy up, but he's probably going to be offensive player of the year.
Saquon might have something to say about that.
Yeah, we'll compete with Saquon. But yeah, their defense just isn't where it's been, whether they've been hurt a little bit. I know Kyle Hamilton's been kind of up and down for them. I'm just not sure if they've got the elite pass rush they've had in the past. I really like Wiggins, the rookie.
Yeah, he's good.
So I have to see if but he's kind of been up and down, I think, with a couple injuries as well.
As of today, Josh Allen is $2.40.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson is $4. So take that with a grain of salt. It kind of depends on how he plays tomorrow.
Yep.
And after today's games, Saquon is into third favourite at $7. So
3 touchdowns and 250 yards to do that.
His stat line was insane. I was driving back from the coast and I checked it. I was like, Jesus, I'm glad I'm not playing against him in any fantasy teams.
Yeah, I think was it December last year? Ravens went undefeated.
They
had a really good
home last year.
Yeah, they were slow starters and had a really good run home, whereas they were been pretty good and kind of been up and down. So yeah, we'll see how they go. Oh, if they get Eagles, that'll be fun. Eagles, they should beat Giants.
Let me get the rest of these games upcoming here for the Ravens. So at Chargers and then Eagles, at Giants, Pittsburgh, Houston, Cleveland. So there's a lot of fun matchups for a fair few teams. But look, you think they would beat Cleveland, would beat the Giants.
Probably beat Houston.
They're winning 10 games, I think, regardless.
Yeah, it's just, how they go against Philly and Pittsburgh again.
Their offense, I think, despite having a bad day against the Steelers last week, is tearing teams apart for a reason. And they'll have that big mental win if they do face the Bills in an AFC championship game or divisional game that they smacked the crap out of them about 6 weeks ago.
Yep. Looking at it, I think it's going to be a team will come out of the North as a wild card and the other two will come out of the West. I don't think anyone else... I think everyone else is so
you're
far
going
back.
Line through Dolphins, line through Bengals. Bengals are 4-7. I think Sunday Night Football last week, that loss against the Chargers, I think that was their Super Bowl, which is a shame because Burrow and Chase have been incredible.
Higgins back here as well was really good.
But yeah, they've got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, and Colts, I think, are too far back as well. So
Yeah,
I think, yes, we've still got another 5-6 weeks of football, but at this stage, that's what it's looking like to me.
There's always something weird that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, one bad injury here and then a team can...
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened to the Dolphins. So
Yep. Yeah.
it could happen to anyone.
Yep. And the Dolphins do have that extra game in hand against, say, the Bengals. AFC South, pretty ordinary division. I think the Texans showed that today, losing to the Titans. They look a step back from where they were in CJ Stroud's rookie year.
Yep.
Been a bit banged up. Nico Collins healthy this morning. Looked pretty good. Their defense seems a bit leaky.
Yep. I think they've been a bit banged up as well with Stingley and I think they're maybe in their sophomore slump because they've had all the big rookies are kind of now in their second year and there's more tape on them. The guys know how to attack them. They're getting more of their welcome to the league. Maybe they overachieved a bit last year and now they're kind of settling into they're a good team in a bad division, but overall in the conference they're probably not challenging anyone currently.
No, I don't think so. Do you think the Bengals should have held on to Mixon? He's been pretty handy for you in fantasy team.
Yeah, but I think Brown's also been really good too. So
that's true.
As a replacement.
Yep.
I don't think that's the issue for the Bengals at the moment.
Agreed. I think their defense might be something to do with
it.
it.
What is Burrow? Doesn't he have like 4 games?
He's got like
300.
He's like got MVP numbers. I've got the quarterback numbers.
Yeah,
up here.
He's thrown 3 touchdowns a game, like 4 touchdowns a game, and still losing. So I don't think they have an offensive problem.
Let me just bring up the NFL passing numbers here. He's second for yards, 3,028. He's thrown 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His rating is 106.9.
So by touchdown. I think he's in the front.
I think he's 2 ahead of Lamar. Yeah, so he's thrown the most touchdowns. He's second for yards. He's second for rating.
Yeah.
And they've won 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's the offense's fault.
No. I think we talked about this in the past. They really needed to invest more in the defense. They just haven't.
And Trey Hendrickson's got the most sacks in the NFL as well. So, there's, again, another head scratcher there.
Yeah, well, I think that's
just the way that they've lost as well.
Yeah, their secondary's leaky.
Yeah.
So their teams are having to have shootouts with them, but so that gives Hendricks a lot of opportunities for sacks, but it gives the other teams a lot of opportunities to score points, which is unfortunate.
Let's get a bit crazy here. We'll not write them off just yet. Let's see what their schedule looks like. Steelers must win. Cowboys, Titans, Browns. Bro.
Yeah, and then finish with bangers and with Broncos and Steelers again. So
they beat the Steelers next week, and then they might have a bit of momentum going into Christmas.
Yeah, they could win 4 straight.
Yeah, they lose to the Steelers,
but still,
4-8. That's definitely.
That only gets them to 8-7. So
they need other results to go well, but
it's still going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it's not like you look at that and they've got to play the Chiefs and Bills and shit.
No. I think that Bengals-Broncos game, could be very interesting depending on how the West goes as well. Those teams should be, if we're saying what we think the Bengals do, that could be close there in the wild card. But Denver, got a 3-game lead on them at the moment. So.
Yeah, they've got a lot of ground to catch.
Yeah, which is the challenge.
Let's go over to the NFC. The Lions look pretty much unstoppable, at least on the offense, and the Eagles and Saquon doing what he's been doing the last few weeks. Let's start there in the East. The Eagles are 9-2, absolutely killed the Rams on Sunday Night Football. We alluded to Saquon's stat line before. It was like 255 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He is now the 3rd favourite in the MVP race, which we've spoken about on this podcast before.
Get some rushing statistics.
Yeah, the MVP is essentially a quarterback's award. So for him to be 3rd overall in the odds there speaks volumes to the year that he is having so far. He's got 1,392 rush yards, which is a good 200 above Derrick Henry with the game in hand tomorrow for the King. 10 rushing touchdowns. He's only fumbled once, and I think his receiving has been
would be better than Henry's.
Reasonable as well. Yeah, he'd have a lot more compared to, say, Derrick Henry. He's not in the top 100 for receptions. Let me keep looking here. Maybe not that many. Or maybe he's just not in this.
There we go. There.
Yeah,
33?
actually, not heaps. Yeah.
Not a lot.
257 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns though. So, he's having himself a year, that's for sure.
Yep.
I don't think he'll win the MVP. I think
I think, though, he's done a lot to take a lot of pressure off Hurts, though. He's not relying on Hurts to run and then, throw dimes to Brown and Smith. He's added an extra element of danger to that team, which I think they needed. And their defense is pretty good. Vic Fangio's there, and he's a pretty good DC. So I think they're going to, they're showing they're competitive. They leak a few points to teams like the Rams. But I think their offense is still good, and they're, 2 years away from their previous Super Bowl. So, I think most of that team still kind of, the core is still there.
Yep.
The offensive line is still really good.
Yep.
So, I think they're going to be dangerous. And they're playing in a pretty soft division anyway. So
yeah, certainly the Giants and the Cowboys have been unders. Just back to Saquon, it was 2 receiving touchdowns, not 4.
Yep.
Giants and letting him go, and few people thinking, he's going to see a regression with the tush push and all the rest of it, and fantasy managers
maybe a couple, but
being clowns. I thought it.
Yeah, but if he's housing it from 70 yards out, then there's no tush push. So
it's incredible when you have a guy of his talent, a top 5 pick at the running back position, which is basically unheard of in today's game, behind a good offensive line.
Yeah, a top 5 offensive line adds a lot of value, benefit. So, and the Rams aren't a good defensive team post Aaron Donald's retirement. So, I think he can put him to the sword. He did.
Brandon Graham, defensive end, torn tricep, most likely going to retire.
And probably retire. I think he's been in the league 15 years.
He's old, isn't he? Yeah,
he's been talking about, I think he's been talking about retiring at the end of the year anyway. But unfortunately for him today, he tore his tricep and season done skis.
What about the Commanders-Cowboys game? I don't think I've seen a crazier finish than that in recent memory.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the Commanders played really terribly offensively at the start of that game. And it really wasn't until the fourth quarter, like late fourth quarter, that they managed to even put something together. There
was 4 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes.
Yep, which is wild.
Yeah, albeit one was a return touchdown, which meant nothing. One was a crazy return touchdown from Turpin, who's got some jets on him. That spin move that he did was nasty to set up the return. And then Scary Terry taking 186 yards when they had 11 men in coverage. I don't know how the fuck that happens.
Just the right angle.
Fantasy managers be liking that one.
Yes, I was definitely with both those guys. So, but the Cowboys are just an odd team as a comparison. Playing them, they've had some tough matchups, but then also been pretty bad. Yeah, losing Dak really doesn't help them. They defensively haven't been anywhere near as good. Parsons has been hurt. Actually, that's probably why they played better today, was because Parsons was back. So he adds a lot to their team. So I think Bland should be back for them soon. I know Diggs didn't play in this game. So, they've been bagged up defensively, and that probably adds – they've been bagged up across the team, so that probably adds to a lot. Their line's not as good as it was. Really don't have a good answer at running back, but Cooper Rush to CeeDee Lamb worked well enough in this one.
I wonder if Mike McCarthy owes Cavante Turpin a beer for housing that kick return, because if they were 3-8 and they're all the sort of media circus that goes along with it, he may not have lost his job, but it certainly would have been even more at the forefront of conversation.
He's close. He's very, very much on the hot seat at the moment.
We already spoke about the Giants, and I don't think we need to do it again. They're 2-9.
Yeah.
They're dreadful.
If there's going to be a coaching change this week, it might be the Giants. Yeah, they might have had enough, and especially with everyone clowning on them with all the silliness, the owner might want to step in and say, "Nah, we're going in a different direction."
The NFC West is fun, the tightest division in football. Because
it's bad.
Well, they're
average.
They're all around 500.
Yeah,
I think all of these teams offer something. So the Seahawks are currently top 6
after beating
6-5
Cards today,
who were top. And the Rams are the 49ers are now the bottom of the division. Seahawks 6-5. Jackson Smith in Jigba. This is his last 3 weeks. 180 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. 110 receiving yards, 77 receiving yards and a touchdown. He is looking like a first round draft pick. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of taking over that Lockett role more and more. And Tyler Lockett's probably becoming a little bit more second fiddle. And Smith, Gino's more comfortable in throwing the ball. So.
It's got the most passing yards in the league, Geno Smith.
Yep.
Cardinals 6-5. They had won 4 in a row.
They were coming off their bye, weren't they, as well?
Yeah, I'm not sold on the Cardinals. I got a lot of James Conner fantasy stock, and they don't look like they've got an offense like, say, the Rams or the 49ers, who we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
I'm not sold.
No, they're very much the definition of an average team.
They're a 500 team, eh?
Yeah, they're okay on offense, they're okay on defense, and none of it really is scaring you now. And Kyle's been playing pretty well. I think he's been getting the most out of them. But they're another year away, kind of getting. They need Harrison, get him up speed, gets a few more young guys on defense, and they'll be back and be a bit more competitive.
The Rams on offense look hot at times. They're not quite as pronounced as the Bengals, but their defense has been letting them down. You alluded in the post Aaron Donald
I think
era.
I think back healthy now with okay, how do you say? I'm tongue tied. Sorry to say his last name.
That's all right. What position?
Wide receiver.
Puka
Nakua. Having him back, having Cooper back, with Williams there, they're kind of now healthy.
Their offense is sick.
Yeah, healthy on the offense. It's back to kind of like where it was Super Bowl. What they ran towards the Super Bowl with, like they're
on offense.
On offense, I was saying on offense, they're kind of back to where they were and a couple of years ago, and I think they're good. But like you say, the defense just hasn't been able to replace Aaron Donald, which I don't think you're going to do quickly.
Jalen Ramsey then as well, didn't they?
Yeah. So they've got big holes to fill on defense and haven't really done it yet.
Now, a lot of question marks around the 49ers. About a month ago, they were the favourites to win the NFC still, despite not really having the runs on the board.
Yep.
Brock Purdy doesn't play today. They look pretty dreadful against the Packers up there in the frozen tundra. Brandon Allen started his first game in about 4 years in the NFL. They've lost their last 2, and now it's not so much a matter of, are they the best team in the NFC or are they one of the better teams in the NFC? It's, will they make the playoffs?
Yeah. Will they sneak a wild card? And it's going to be
They're in the right division.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They can still win their division. They're on a game back. Because I'm looking at North and I'm thinking, they're probably not going to get a wild card.
I don't think so.
But they're the team that's really struggled with health. Debo's been up and down. Kittle's been up and down. They've just Brock's now missing games.
CMC still doesn't look like CMC.
Yeah, he's coming back and just trying to make sure his Achilles don't blow out on him.
You are at a higher risk as well, bilateral tendinopathy. So that's the concern.
And then Ayuk is already on season ending, and if Debo's not, some serious questions to be asked about Debo at the moment. His numbers are really, really far down. And they've got the rookie. He's kind of trying to fill in that spot, and I just think offensively they're pretty banged up, and their defense can't keep them in games as much as they had done in the past.
Well, they're on Sunday Night Football against the Bills next week, so
tough out.
Yep. Then there's the schedule eases up for a little bit. Bears, Rams, Dolphins. Yeah. And they finish with the Lions and Cards. It may come down to that game.
Against the Cards,
in week 18 against the
Cards.
Both
around 500 and trying to sneak out,
Yeah. But to think, a month ago that the bookie still had them very, very short. It's going to be a question of if they can sneak into the playoffs. Yep. And then you never know if they start to get healthier and they'd have to go win away.
Yeah, their team on paper with a full team is very good. It's just, they haven't had all those guys together at once.
Let me get you some odds actually on what they are to win the NFC. Down to $23, which is still, it's on par with the Seahawks, and then it's shorter than the Cards and the Rams. So the bookies still like them in comparison to the other teams in their division.
Yeah, still very winnable, but it's
from the tightest division in football to the best division in football. The NFC North is looking white hot. All three of the contenders winning today. Lions are 10-1. They're $2.30 to win the NFC, and they're about $3.50. They're real short now to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Still a lot of football to be played, but they're playing the best best football that I've ever seen the Detroit Lions play. I've followed this game for a long time.
Exactly, and they're dominating teams as well. Like they're putting 40, 50 points on them.
Yeah, that's the difference, isn't it? Their 10-1 looks a lot different to the Chiefs' 10-1, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Their offense is electric.
Scary.
They've got a good offensive line. They got talent all over the place, and the defense is playing really well. So it'd be interesting come playoff time whether the Hutchison loss is a bigger impact then. But maybe Smith fits in there and covers well enough for that come playoff time. But at this stage, I don't see anyone else beating them. Yeah, you take them. Even on their worst day, you've got the note there of the Texans game was a week or so ago. Throw on 5 picks and they still win. It's
who does that?
Yeah, it's still wild.
Who does that? Yeah, their offense is crazy. Maybe the only question mark is can their defense hold up losing a guy like Hutchinson? It's not out of the realm of possibility that he would probably be back for
Super Bowl conference.
Yeah, maybe
conference. Maybe. It depends if he rushes.
Pretty horrific kind of injury.
Yeah,
but it's also if you're going to rush back for something.
Super
Bowls don't come around every now and then.
Yeah, especially if you come on as like a third down pass rush specialist for that game.
Problem is for them, the rest of the NFC North is looking very good. The Vikings are 9-2. They won. They left it late today against the Bears, but they did get the win. Of note, Justin Jefferson officially has the most receiving yards through 5 seasons. Sure. Incredible because he was missing today by his lofty standards.
Yeah, Addison though I think picked up
crazy. Well, there was talks that he was unhappy a few weeks ago, and his last 2 weeks has played lights out. But just to go back to Jefferson, I think the record that the bloke that he overtook here is Randy Moss.
Yep.
Which is incredible that the Vikings have number 1, number 2 on the list. There's also 6 games left this season, and he missed half of last year.
Yeah.
So it's more like he has the most through 5 seasons, but he's played 4 seasons.
Yeah. Well, they play an extra game, and they do pass a lot more, but
I guess.
But yeah, it's still, you see week in, week out the ridiculous catches he makes, how open he gets. Like he's very, very good. There's no doubting that.
If it wasn't for Jamar Chase having the year that he's having, like CeeDee Lamb's very, very good, but I don't think I've got him in that same category as those two at the moment.
That LSU team was just wild.
LSU and receivers, man.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. Pretty crazy. And this is all praising him after he had 2 catches for 25 yards.
Yeah.
But again, you're as good as he is. Maybe that's, opening up Addison. I can't say.
Yeah, like if he's getting double or triple team, then that opens up for Addison, and he has a career day. So
100%.
You do the team game if you want to win games.
Packers look very good today. They're 8-3 as a Packers fan.
How real are they?
Yeah, I feel a bit more like they are real-ish today. They didn't deserve to beat the Bears last week. It was a blocked field goal. They looked pretty ordinary on offense. Jordan Love was driving me crazy with some of his red zone decisions.
Yep. He's a gunslinger.
Yeah,
he's basically Brett Favre reincarnated.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Sometimes I'm just like, fucking don't force that. It's first down. Like, just leave it. Yeah. But also,
he's got good receiving options. Again, when they're healthy, those guys are really, really good.
And he's incredible. And it's like, the thing about Josh Allen maybe earlier in his career and even last year, like there's times when you're like, Josh Allen, like don't force that.
Yeah,
like,
you don't need to throw that.
Yeah.
He has a lot of those. Just like, I'm going to throw this as hard as I fucking can. And either the DB's just going to drop it or my guy's going to catch it. So
yeah, or my guy's not going to fucking even get close to it. He did one. Josh Jacobs was open in the flat today, and he like fastballed this thing. I was like, and Josh Jacobs was like, what the fuck, man? Like, got one hand to it, couldn't catch it. Like it just had to be like a little off.
Yeah, a little bit of touch.
But
he's a young player. Like that's
dude. Josh Jacobs looked incredible today. Offensive line's looking good. The defense is a good turnover defense.
Yep.
McKinney
young and talented. So
McKinney had another.
Those draft picks
pick.
Are starting to pay off.
Yeah, kept loading up on defense. I don't know. It's hard. Like they're third in the division. Like you don't want to write home too much.
What's their 8 wins though? Like
they're 8-3. It's a good record.
Yeah. But who they beat? That's my question. Are you confident in their ability? Because they beat a banged up 49ers team.
Yeah, exactly right. And when I'm going back in my mind, they've lost to the Lions, they've lost to the Vikings,
which is huge. Trying to win in a division and or wildcard positions, but Just beat the Bears.
So going back, they
49ers.
just beat the Bears. They just beat the Jags. They've beaten the Cardinals. Yeah, you're right. They
beat Texans,
Rams, Titans, Colts.
Yeah.
So when they've played good teams, they've lost.
Yeah.
So let's not get too crazy.
Yes. Yeah. The record looks good, but yeah,
does.
they've got some challenging games. And I'm assuming they've got a couple of division games coming up as well. We've got Lions, Dolphins will be a fun one.
Seahawks, Saints, Vikings, Bears.
Again.
So that run home, really, they'll go into favourites in probably 4 out of 6 of those games.
Yep. It's the 2 divisional games, which will be the big challenge, I'd say.
So they should be winning 11, maybe 12 games.
Yep. And still finish 3rd in the division.
Yeah, that's all right. Give them a wild card. Frozen. They won't get the frozen tundra. They'll have to travel somewhere.
Yes.
They looked pretty good as a wild card last year at Dallas, that's for sure.
Yep.
Just have to be there. A team that we can probably safely say is not going to be there is the Bears. They're 4-7.
Can't beat anyone good.
Yeah, and the way they've been losing, you kind of just feel sorry for them. Yeah. They had 2 field goals that were blocked today against the Vikings, going off the one that got blocked last week against the Packers. Caleb Williams has actually looked really good at times. Offensively, they don't look horrendous, but they've lost 5 in a row.
Yep.
And a lot of it just seems same old Bears.
Yes.
That's harsh. They have a future at the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Bears of the past, that you've kind of look like no.
Maybe Justin Fields wasn't the problem.
I think he's proved that he wasn't the problem at all. NFC South, I don't see any of these teams winning the Super Bowl, but there's going to be a division up for grabs here. Falcons had the bye, but they're 6-5. They're looking right at the right time. Bucks
lost to Denver.
Yeah, they got smacked.
Yes,
smacked up. Bucks actually not too bad. Mike Evans back today. Did play the Giants, but looked very good. This is their 4-game losing streak was Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, 49ers.
Yeah.
So some pretty good teams in there. It's probably a coin flip, probably between the Falcons and the Bucks. Saints have looked better since firing Dennis Allen. They're 4-7.
Well, it's science. They got their 1 win. So
yeah, that's right. Don't question science.
Yeah. Whether they get more wins after that, I don't think so. And
clearly it doesn't work for offensive coordinator or quarterback because that's what the Bears and Giants did in the last few weeks, and they also didn't win. It has to be head coach. That's the only way that it becomes science is you have to sack your head coach.
Yes.
Not your $50 million quarterback.
Nope.
And the Panthers might not be the worst team in football. They are 3-8. They nearly beat the Chiefs today.
So have the Raiders got the worst record?
Raiders and Giants are the only 2. And the Jags are the only teams with
2 wins.
Yeah. Okay. So Giants, Jags, Raiders are 2-9. They're the teams that are leading the Tankathon as it stands. What are you looking forward to over the next month? There's Thanksgiving games, 3 games on our Friday. They're Thursday this week. Into the cold weather and Christmas. It's always fun this time of the year in the NFL, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm just happy to have a half decent Denver team for a change. So I will take that and see how they go to finish off the rest of the year.
Playing better than I think what a lot of people thought.
Yep.
We're actually quite similar to Broncos and Packers in that coming 3rd in the division, but record would suggest not bad. Have they beaten anyone good? Jury's still out.
Yeah. But there's stuff to look forward to for the future as well. So I'm pretty happy with that.
100%. Should we talk some hoops?
Yeah, might as well.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up, bang!
The regular season goes pretty quick. It feels like we blinked and are nearly a quarter of the way through. The Cavs, they have finally dropped a game since we last spoke.
Yes.
They are 17-1.
Yep.
Still pretty handy record there for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell's playing pretty good ball. He's averaging 24 points. Garland's averaging about 22. And they're playing good team basketball. The only problem is I think the Celtics are still probably the best team in the East, and I'm sure the bookies agree with that. I'll get some odds up shortly.
I think the key thing you got there is they've got elite 3-point shooting, and the way the NBA has been played at the moment,
talking about last point.
Yeah, it's 3-point heavy, and if you got elite shooters from outside the arc, it's definitely going to be good for regular season wins. And
everyone has to be able to shoot the 3-ball. We spoke about that last pod. Big Alf Horford is shooting the highest percentage he's ever shot, nearly at 48%. Derek White is coming along leaps and bounds. Tatum's shooting at about 40%. Pritchard off the bench. They can all shoot the threes.
Yep.
They're looking very, very good. 14-3. They are second in the East, and I think it's the Cavs and Celtics, and then a fair sort of drop down to the middle.
Yeah, as we were looking at it a couple of weeks ago, it hasn't changed too much. It's a very big pack in the middle.
Of which the Magic leader at the moment in third. They're 11-7, and they've gone 7-1 since last pod without Paolo Banchero, which is incredible because I think they'll only get better. You'd assume once he's back from that oblique injury. He shouldn't be too far off. I think he's missed close to a month already, so you're probably expecting 4 to 6 with him. Franz Wagner's really stepped up in his absence. Suggs is playing pretty good. I think. Look, it's early. They're 11-7. They're only 4 games above 500, but they're certainly looking like a playoff caliber side.
Yeah, but also getting a bit of a lead on that big pack we're talking about. Like you're starting to separate yourself. You'd want to do that versus not.
We'll put it this way: they're 8 games ahead of the 76ers, who we'll get to in a second.
Yes.
Knicks are 9-7. Cat's playing good ball. He's averaging 26 and 12. Jalen Brunson's very good. We spoke about the New York football teams. I think the Knicks are going to carry the hopes of that city as we get through the American winter, that's for sure. We saw last year, come playoff time, the Knicks are looking pretty good. The NBA will want a strong Knickerbockers, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Then we come to this pack around 500. The Heat 7-7. Jimmy Butler's played about half of their games. Hasn't quite looked himself. Tyler Hero back this year and healthy, looking very good, averaging 24 a game. Bucks have steadied the ship. They were way down the bottom last time we spoke. Yep. So they're 8-9, sitting just below 500. Giannis is putting up close to MVP numbers, averaging 32, 12 and 6. Dame's looking good. They'll get Chris Middleton back soon. I think again, it's early. They're still below 500, but they're doing what the 76ers aren't doing and righting the ship.
Yes, they're in contention.
Correct. Tell you who's in contention to break an NBA record. Dyson Daniels, the Great Barrier Thief. I don't know if you saw the highlights of him getting put in cuffs by Clint Capella because he's getting that many steals.
Yep.
It's like a 40-year-old record. I might try and get that up here, the NBA steals record. So he's on track as it stands, but obviously from a...
just add season record.
Yeah, season. From an all-time sort of perspective, you need to stay healthy. 301.
It's an average of 3.67 a game. And I think he's averaging...
Like 3.7, I think?
Yeah, he's right on it. So
let's see who's gone close in recent years. Good old Wikipedia, mate. No one's gone remotely close.
No one's gone over 200 in it.
Yeah. So Darren Fox had the most last year with 150. Who was the last person to go over 200? Chris Paul, 216, 217, but way back in 07, 08, 08, 09. So even to hit 200, Allen Iverson, 225 in 02. So to hit 300 is crazy. No. Interesting how the game's played. Like back in the early 90s, you did have a guy called Michael Jordan there who didn't mind a steal, John Stockton as well. But every year.
So there's the last time someone averaged 3 a game.
Yeah, right. Was Robertson.
Yeah.
And then the record goes back to 85, 86, Alvin Robertson. So that's that average there is 3.67. So he needs to stay on that. He's averaging 3.2. Yeah, I think they may have played less games.
Yeah, back then, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Where were we? 3. That's all time. Hang on. Anyways, I think they played less games. So he probably doesn't need to average 3.67. He probably just needs to average...
At least over 3, you'd say.
Yeah.
Well, what's the quick math on that? How many games they play now?
82.
To get to 300?
Well, 82 times 3, 3 flat, is only going to be like 250. Yeah. So 3.5. Yeah, he's going to...
He still needs, yeah.
He actually needs to
probably go up a little bit, yeah.
But he's going to, provided he doesn't get hurt, he's going to have the most steals in the last 20 years. Yep. 15 years at least.
Oh, yeah. How many has he got already?
Oh, don't make me do the quick maths. He's 3.2. They've played 16 games. He's got like 50, maybe?
50.
Quick maths. Anyways.
Quick math on this.
It's the best thing to be talking about with the Hawks at the moment. They're not bad.
Yeah.
They're just, I don't think they're going to...
Didn't they lost to the Bulls, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I remember because Giddy was playing. So the Aussies going up against each other. Giddy's been pretty good. So I think it's I've jumped all the way down here to
That's right,
the 10th.
7 and 11.
But for Australian basketball, I think it's good.
Well, there's an Aussie to talk about in the middle there with the Nets being 7 and 10.
Hit the other end.
Yeah, it's hard.
He's broken. I don't know what happened, but something broke him.
He's back. His back is broken.
But I just think his confidence.
It's hard to come back from.
It's like
from
the
that
monster stole his talent.
Yeah,
like being good in the paint and doing layups was his thing. And that one where he
could have dunked it.
He could have done anything.
Yeah,
but he kind of looked like he got caught in 3 or 4 different minds of what he wanted to do, and he ended up fucking it up. So
yeah. We're talking about Ben Simmons missing the layup. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's not something you'd expect an NBA caliber player to miss. It happened quick, like it was off a rebound. I'm trying to get in there and bat for him.
Yeah.
It was against the 76ers as well. He would have copped it from that Philly crowd.
But it was still a decent enough open bucket that he could have, and at his size, could have easily dunked it. Could have, if he's going to lay it up, off the backboard, he could do that too. Like
it missed
but he missed everything. Yeah.
Anyways, I do hope that he turns it around. He's playing consistently. Like he's playing more minutes.
You got to maybe also think about his rust a bit too. Like it's been a while since he's played consistent basketball at a high level. So,
yes.
Yeah. So yes. So maybe it'll take a bit of time, to give him a bit of a caveat. But we'd like to see a bit more out of Ben Simmons.
There's some other teams in the East that have taken the heat off him at least, I hope, in terms of where a lot of the vitriol might be going. And to the Nets' credit, some of their players are stepping up. Cam Johnson actually looks very good. He had 37 and 34 this week. They sit 9th with 7 and 10. Pistons, 11th. They've won 7 games. Hornets, LaMelo is really putting them on his back. He had 50 in their loss to the Bucks. He's averaging 30 a game. He's actually second in the East, only behind Giannis. Again, I don't think the Hornets will be bothering anyone back into the season, but LaMelo is playing very good. Yep. Raptors are in 13th. They're 4 and 13. They're probably doing the best that they can with their roster. Wizards are last. Again, don't have much
Wizards
on their roster. They've only won 2 games. The team that's probably most worth talking about down the bottom of the East is this Philadelphia 76 unit. 3 and 13. News broke this week that there's a snitch amongst them, apparently, according to Joel Embiid. Someone's leaking something out of the locker room.
Yeah, well, they said that he doesn't show up to meetings on time.
Shows up late.
His attitudes,
Question
is he still trusting the process is the question.
I think we're not that far removed from MVP Embiid, and he has had a horrific run with his knee and meniscectomy, and maybe getting rushed back too quickly last year, and then they've said that they're not playing back-to-back games with him this year, and we know about how injuries affect 7-footers and all the rest of it. Yep. But you'd think one thing that anyone can do is have a good attitude and show up, and you're meant to be the face of that franchise and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So I can see if there is truth behind some of these stories that. Yeah, his teammates may have a reason to have the shits. They're in all sorts. They need a healthy MB. They need a healthy Maxi. They're not getting either of those at the moment. The best thing that's going on for him at the moment is their rookie, Jared McCain, who's a pretty short favourite to win the Rookie of the Year, which is not bad from the 16th overall pick. Yep. They're in all sorts.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it in the past. Christmas is their deadline. If they're still like this so far off the pace by Christmas, put a line through them.
They're 3 and 13. That sits as it stands. They're only 4 games out of.
It's still early, but
and with the play in, you have to finish 10th.
Yeah.
So
see how it looks in 6 weeks' time around Christmas, and if that has extended out to a further distance, then sorry, it's too late.
Let's go over to the West. Very different looking conference with 11 teams that are 500 or above. The Warriors, blast from the past, are top. So they're 12 and 4. Moving Klay Thompson on probably seemed like the right call at this stage.
Yep.
They're getting more out of Andrew Wiggins. He's been consistently putting over 25 points up. Steph Curry doesn't look like Steph Curry of 5 years ago, but he's still Steph Curry.
He's still pretty good.
They're getting a bit out of Kuminga and some of their talls in the rotation. I don't know if they're the best team in the West on paper, but they've got the best record at the moment.
Yeah, they're on top of the moment.
Thunder are playing hurt.
Yep.
I think Chet Holmgren going down with a broken pelvis.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. Which
Could be longer for a big fella.
I was going to say broken pelvis, his frame as well.
Don't rush it.
No, take your time. Think about him long term. They can play without him. It's hard though because I think Hartenstein's back in now, but they had games where SJ was the tallest player.
Yeah,
at 6'6", which isn't short by mere mortal
but if you're going
equations. But in the NBA, crazy, hey, for the tallest player to be a 6'6" point guard. Yeah. So definitely played a few small. I think, Hartenstein coming back into the lineup, very big for OKC. Yep. It's incredible to be where they are without having a front court, essentially. Rockets are kind of fun.
Yep.
12 and 6, they're sitting third. They've got 7 players averaging double digits. It's pretty much unheard of. No one averaging over 20.
Team ball,
bro. Jalen Green and Şengün been the best for them. Again, don't think later in the season. I don't know if they'll bother too many, but certainly got themselves off to a good start. And then it's this middle it's just stacked. And there's a lot of teams that could be really good.
A lot of names in that as well.
Lakers are 10 and 6. Anthony Davis is $14 to win the MVP. He's averaging over 30 a night. Dalton Connect looks good. LeBron's still putting up triple doubles every other night. They could get hot at the right time, that's for sure.
Yep.
Nuggets are 9 and 6. The guy's jersey that we got up behind us. Nikola Jokic is still the favourite for the MVP. I might bring up those odds.
I saw Westbrook got a triple double the other day.
Yeah, he still gets a few. I've got him in my fantasy team, and he's hard because there's been some nights where he's gone crazy because he's playing off the bench. It's not every night.
Yeah, it's hot and cold.
Exactly. But yeah, he's
matchup dependent, as you will.
For sure. Jokic $3.10 to win the MVP. So not heaps far ahead of where he was. SJ 4s, Tatum 5, Giannis 8, and then and Edwards 11, Luka 13. Before we get to Anthony Davis at 14, Luka's missing games at the moment. So the Mavs are 8th. They're 9 and 8. I think he's close to being back from a right wrist injury. Okay. And the Mavs actually beat the Nuggets the other day without him, which is pretty incredible. Grizzlies are kind of fun. They're 10 and 7. They've got Scottie Pippen Jr. playing. Yep. Healthy Jar. It's a bit of fun. The Suns have slid since the last pod. They're 9 and 7. They've only won one game since the last pod.
Jeez.
Still think on paper very, very good.
Yeah, they're still good. The name value there.
And we spoke about LaMelo putting the Hornets on his back. James Harden is putting the Clippers on his back at the moment. Their starting 5 is like really a bunch of no-name kind of guys, with all due respect.
Yep.
And Harden's keeping him above 500, which is good stuff.
Kawhi hasn't been playing, has he?
Say again?
Kawhi? Leonard?
No, he's not playing. Zubac has been playing most games. Norman Powell has been playing.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell you who their starting 5 is at the moment.
Yeah. Harden's, you can remember, he's not too far removed from being an MVP. I think for him, it's more about a desire for a lot of it. Like, is he just playing ball for, say, playing ball, or does he want to win championships? So,
how old do you reckon he is?
Mid-30? Yeah, 35.
35.
Mid-30s.
I thought he might have been a touch older than that. Yeah, he's still very, very good.
Same age as we
are. And then Wemby, looking really, really good. Has more blocks than a lot of teams does. They're 9 and 8. Wolves will need to kick into gear. They're 500. Kings just below 500. And then down the bottom of the West. It's interesting in the West that you look at the bottom 3 and the Blazers, Jazz, Pelicans. They're probably the only ones that you're like, can't really see them bothering anyone down the stretch. But anyone that's 12th and up, which is essentially 500, they've just got to be there. The play-in the West is going to be crazy.
Yeah. I just want to say the Wolves down the bottom there, I thought was interesting.
Early days,
still,
but I think seem to have done better out of the cat trade. So early, but
but I think that's the thing. As you say, it's still pretty early. Christmas is the test to see where they're looking at there. But teams like Wizards and Pels and Jazz, you can probably put a line through, and then 76ers really need to lift.
So you reckon Christmas You think it's too early for the 76ers to put a line through them. 3-13. I think it needs to be done before Christmas.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Yeah.
They need to, like,
If
from
you
now, they need to start riding the ship.
If you keep going at 250, like win percentage until Christmas, you're fucked. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's
like I'm saying, if that's the case, you definitely put a line through them at that point.
They need to
Even with
turn it around this week.
More than half the season still to go.
And if there's locker room issues, it doesn't. Do they have to have the question of is
Who's coaching them at the moment?
Is Embiid the guy for the?
Is it Doc?
It's Doc. Yeah, we were talking about Doc and Groupie. Obviously won a ring with the Celtics back in 2008. With
I was going to say, when was it?
yeah, so 16 years ago. But that team had Garnett, Paul Pierce, Rondo, Ray Allen.
Yes,
one of the best.
Close your eyes and you're winning a comp kind of thing.
Yeah. So Doc Rivers recently. Let's have a look here. He's 63 years of age. Sorry, he's on the Bucks.
But so he was.
He was on the 76ers.
So that was my question. So who's coaching him now?
Yeah. Completely got my wires crossed just then.
Yeah, because that was 2002.
76ers coach. That's right. That's Nick Nurse. That's right. I think he's in trouble. And in the group, we were talking about the Bucks last week when they were down the bottom there too.
Yep.
So apologies, that was a bit of a fuck up there. But Nick Nurse, the former Raptors coach, has got them at the moment. I don't know. If the media reports are to be believed, it seems like there may be a locker room issue.
Yeah, and generally that starts at the top.
All right, that'll do us for the NBA. It will be interesting as we run into Christmas. The NBA Cup, or the in-season tournament, as it was known as last year, a lot of glary sort of courts going on. The groupings are starting to take a bit of shape.
Yeah, the NBA Cup.
Yeah.
Funny.
It was kind of
when does that get decided?
So it's like the next two. So by the next pod, we should know who's in the playoffs of it.
Okay.
And then it's like goes into like around Christmas, New Year.
Yeah. So it's almost by Christmas they make a decision.
Yeah. And it's stupid because it's 4 games in it. So it's like there's only a handful of teams that are actually out of it so far.
Let's see if they celebrate as much as the Lakers did last year.
There's a trophy, bro. Okay, let's do some footy. We're just going to do all 3 codes
just do it
together.
all.
Just chat a bit of footy into.
Can you do all the sounds at once?
Final round. I'll choose one.
Maybe the whistle. They all have whistles in it.
Let's start with the league because there's probably the least to talk about with the league. Lachlan Ilias confirmed signed by the Dragons today.
Interesting. Probably confirms the Gutherson's not playing in the halves.
Yeah, it looks like Gutherson 1, Flanagan 6, Ilias 7. I'd imagine what they're...
Salone to the wing?
Sloan on the wing. I don't know if he's got the frame or defensive capabilities to play centre at the moment.
Yep.
I think he'd make a good winger. He's fast and his acceleration is incredible.
That'll be a story to follow because I don't think he wants to be a winger and...
neither did Zach Lomax.
Wanted out not that long ago. So, that'll be something to follow through the season for any unrest there. But Dragons are interesting. They've bought a lot of interesting guys and we'll see how it goes.
It's a big shake-up. Also coming back from pretty nasty tib-fib fracture. And he did that after being dropped down to New South Wales Cup as well. So fell out of favour, obviously, at the Bunnies after sort of being touted maybe as the next big thing. Obviously big or small shoes, I suppose. Excuse the shit pun, to shoes to fill with Adam Reynolds. But they've obviously moved on from him, and it'd be interesting to see how he goes with the Red V.
Yep. And I think all the rumours are Ben Hunt's going to sign with Brisbane during the week. Something like a 2-year, $550K a year kind of deal.
Yeah. Kind of mentioned it a few weeks ago. As much as I hate the Broncos, Ben Hunt was an excellent servant of the St George Illawarra Football Club and want him on a personal level to sort of finish his career on a high note, even if that does mean that
all the reports of the Roosters, and you're just like, please don't do it.
Yeah, I'd rather see him go back up to Queensland than join the Roosters, I think.
Yeah, I think from the news over the weekend was the Bulldogs pulled out, Roosters probably pulled out, Dolphins are trying last ditch with a big offer, but Brisbane are the favourite. So you might see Ben Hunt back at the Broncos.
Watch this space. So Perth bid is maybe back on for the 18th team?
Yeah, that was the news that the West Australian government has come to the party and going to obviously foot a bit of the bill, which makes the NRL happy. So it looks like they're back to potentially being the 18th team for the NRL. So that's could be announced. I think it's got to be announced soonish if they want to stick with their time frames, because I'm assuming add for the 2026 and PNG's 2028, and then that last team is to get them to 20 by 2030. If that's the goal, you'd think they'll be making that announcement soon so they can start working on prepping to join the league in 2018. But yeah, it looks like a Perth team is very, very likely.
NRL could soon officially announce Perth Bears as the competition's 18th team following urgent talks with Chairman Peter V'landys and the WA government. Yeah, this is interesting because a few weeks ago it was like, no chance.
Because they had the whole licensing fee thing. I think NRL was basically like, we want commitment from the government before we agree to anything. And whether that's cash or whatever it is, it seems like they've had the talks. Big Dick V'landys was swinging it around a little bit just to see what he could get out of it. And of course, the government's all but confirmed bankroll on the PNG thing. So that's most likely going to be the 19th team. And as we said, they're trying to grow to 20 teams by 2030. So, that's a team every 2 years, I think is the plan. They're going to have to announce one of those very, very soon.
I think if they're going to go 3 extra teams, I think Perth, Papua, and a second New Zealand team makes sense.
100%. I agree, definitely.
Watch this space. AFL draft happened last week, so I'll just run through.
2 days ago, wasn't it? Very recent.
It was Wednesday night.
Okay.
Monday now. Yeah, anyways, they all sort of blend into one, don't they? I spoke at the top of the show with my shout of beer about Carlton's picks.
Levi Ashcroft to Brisbane.
Yeah,
about that.
Well, we spoke about Camperelli twins. What about some guys that are probably going to have more impact straight away? Because by all accounts, Levi's maybe just as good as his brother,
if not better. So that'd be good. Definitely good for Brisbane. Tigers are probably the big one with the amount of picks and talents they had to pick. So they picked one, didn't they? Picked Sam
Lalor. I think despite all their crazy number of picks, I think they only had 2 in the top 10, which I've got here. Sam Lalor goes first to Richmond. Out of Vic Country, he's a midfielder. Finn O'Sullivan to the Kangas, also Vic Country midfielder. Jagger Smith, Vic Metro to Carlton. Sid Draper, he's a South Australian boy to the Crom. The aforementioned Levi Ashcroft out of Vic Metro joins his older brother and follows in the footsteps of his father, going up to the Brisbane Lions. Pretty handy team to go to, given the way that they finished the season. Harvey Langford goes to Melbourne. Josh Smiley, the second Tiger taken in the top 10, to Richmond at 7. Toby Travaglia to St Kilda at 8. Leo Lombard to Gold Coast Suns at 9. And Alex Toru to St Kilda at 10. There was 71 picks total. Go check it out if you're AFL inclined. I'm sure if you're very AFL inclined, you've probably already got a fair idea at least to who your team's taken.
Yeah, I think I saw some day 2 coverage was going on now. So anyway.
It's replay, because it was Wednesday and Thursday last week. So the last pick had been made by late Thursday evening last week. Yes. So a lot of them are joining their teams for pre-season in the coming weeks.
It was IPL auction. It was day 2. I'm getting drafts confused. Don't worry.
That's all right. Watch a lot of sport. All sorts of blends into one.
Yes. Yeah.
Watching pink ball at the Adelaide Oval right now, thinking, fuck.
Bancroft gets some runs, bro. Too little, too late.
Possibly. What else? Oh yeah, rugby. Rugby's been was good for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you mentioned it at the top of the Australian team and Sawali's injury.
Yeah, it looks like a broken wrist.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting was this report that came out during the week trying to create a global rugby league. Rugby league. This is what has confused me, but a global rugby comp, let's say, that features the best players in the world. Because you know what's good for rugby? International rugby.
Yes.
Club football. Depending on the country, is kind of up and down, but it's not at the kind of level and not at the kind of viewership as international rugby is. what if we got the top 200 players together, create 8 teams, and then have a tournament style like weekend thing where you travel around the globe, kind of like F1, and you play, Friday, Saturday, Sunday matches against those 8 teams, rotate, and that's your comp. And you play in New Zealand this week, this month, and next month you're in Australia, for example, England, blah, blah, blah. Go all over Europe, and that's this new league, and you have all your best players playing. To me, it kind of looks like they've gone, international rugby's really good. How do we get that kind of level of competition of international rugby more regularly and try to put it out there? So, yeah, there's been a lot of interesting kind of talk about this kind of thing. Kind of like I was comparing it to, what was the Super League thing called for soccer? Where they're not the Champions League, but they wanted all those, the 20-odd top teams across Europe wanted to create their own Super League and play that.
It never happened.
Yeah, it never happened.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this is what this is kind of thinking of, is get all your best players and create 8 super teams. They aren't international teams,
They're club teams.
they're the club teams of a mix of all the best players, and you play a tournament like that, and that's how you sell. That's how you get your viewership. Make it a bit of a carnival thing. So I think it's an interesting idea, and kind of goes to the point of they're trying to do something in rugby, maybe not to save it, but to grow the game in some way, because they seem to be losing out all over the place to all the other sports. It
could work, and the thing that makes me think it could work is live golf.
Yep.
And the question I would have is who's backing it and how much money.
Yeah.
Are they going to? Because the money talks. We know that.
Do the Saudis like rugby?
I don't think so. They like money. So if it becomes viable as a business,
but I don't think, does rugby generate that much money? Maybe something like this. Maybe?
It's all about eyeballs and TV rights, and
exactly.
If you only had 8 teams of the 200 of the best players in the world, possibly.
Yeah. And you're essentially having mini World Cups every month kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. That's why I brought it up. I kind of like it for rugby because I know we've had Super Rugby with the Australian New Zealand teams, and at one stage, didn't we have some South African and Argentina came across?
Sure, yeah, but pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID, like they kind of tried to create some sort of league like that.
Yeah, it got to a point where there was a Japanese team, an Argentinian team, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like bringing that concept back a little bit. But I guess maybe, again, refining it to the best. They're trying to bring the best up as their sell point, is the way I think of it.
My concern, I know money does talk, and golf is a little different than team sports because I suppose the pinnacle in team sports in rugby is playing for your country.
Yep. And
if the individual nations had anything to say about it and said, no, we don't want this to happen because Australia doesn't want to lose our 10 best players in an already struggling domestic competition to go and play in this breakaway. You can't play for the Wallabies if you do this. It may not work.
Yeah. I think they're kind of trying to angle for that middle ground between domestic and international. Because I don't think...
No, you're not going to fit it in.
Well, that's kind of the question is like, can we put a league that plays around the international? So outside the World Cup, outside our main series and tri-series and things that we want to run.
Yeah, it'd be like
the international game.
Like Christmas, January, I think is where you'd have to run it.
And would those guys then not play, say, Clubland, and this is a kind of a different...
Yeah, if you went up straight against the Super Rugby format, it would work.
Yeah.
But if the Super Rugby clubs had an issue with it, and the ARU had an issue with it, say, for example, I don't know. I can't see it working.
But if the Saudis come around, I've got $1 billion.
It's money.
And I go like, hey, you guys can play your domestic local comp. We want your best players to play in this, and we'll pay them each $10 million.
This article that I've got here from ESPN also says that it's not Middle East money. It says that the biggest names in the sport, both from Tier 1 nations and emerging nations, are being targeted by the project, which is not relying on funding from the Middle East. It doesn't say who the power brokers are.
There's still plenty of money elsewhere.
That's
old heads in Europe, etc.
For sure. It says rough plans would see a global competition established, which has taken inspiration from elements of Formula 1, Live Golf, and the IPL. Yep. The outline would see eight franchise
and those three
teams
things
established.
are all growing like crazy.
Yeah, of course.
Have great viewership. So
money talks, baby.
Definitely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Watch this space. I'm sceptical. Talk quickly about the Wallabies. Beat England, first time in close to 10 years in England, I think. And our record against them been pretty ordinary. Doesn't matter really where it's been over the last essentially since the 2003 World Cup. Only have a handful of wins over them. So massive win. We're pretty rank outsiders to beat them a couple of weeks ago. And then followed that up with a win against Wales, who are really struggling at the moment when it comes to World Rugby.
Yep.
And then aren't going to do the undefeated tour back to sort of same old Wallabies, losing last night to Scotland, and all eyes will be on Joseph Suaalii's wrist.
Yep.
Harry Potter did make his debut though, so I don't know if you saw that. So, shout out to any fans of rugby or the wizard with the what's he's on his lightning bolt? It's on his head. I'm a big Harry Potter man.
Yes.
Harry Potter must not go back to rugby. I think I was looking at he's a little bit older for a debutant. I was like, who the fuck's would call their kid Harry Potter? But I think he's 26, so I think it's like borderline.
Well, his family name's got to be Potter. They didn't just
but if your name's Potter, you're not going to call your kid Harry in 2024, are you?
Maybe he's old man. Well, if you said he's 26, 98.
It's like
when did the first book come
97.
out?
I looked it
up.
This was the most interesting thing for me that came out of this. So
It was popular, but did it hit its stride off the first
not till
book?
the mid 2000s. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, or was it like second or third book? Everyone then it went viral and everyone was.
Well, movies generally
Yeah.
boost something to international sort of.
I definitely
fame.
feel like I
Early
knew
noughties.
of the books before I knew of the movies.
So that's late night.
But I feel like that was like book 4 because I was like high school. It was,
So for
7
us,
or
that's
8.
early noughties.
Yeah,
So
early
so he
noughties.
was already born.
Yeah, maybe not. His parents get a
They're
pass.
borderline.
His parents get a pass. Unless they're the mad book nerds.
If anyone knows much about Harry Potter's career and not
Yeah.
his name, please get at us in the comments. Obviously, we're a little bit more league focused on this show.
He's very good at getting the snitch.
That's right. Harry Potter.
Did you want to cover soccer quickly?
Yeah, we'll do football here. City, you don't see this very often, have lost 3 of their last 3 league games. They are 8 points behind Liverpool.
Is it too early to say?
I think it's too early. But
Is it?
doesn't look good.
Are Liverpool going to drop that many games from here?
Well, they've only dropped 1 so far. So Liverpool
They've still got to play 26
26 games left. So it's not even a third of the way through the year.
We're already saying
It's hard. 8 points is a long way.
it's a big difference.
We'll put it like this. So Liverpool are 8 points ahead of Man City. Scroll down, so 23 points. Where
Yeah,
does
you said this. Yeah.
So United are closer to being relegated than City are to Liverpool.
Yep.
Yeah, so Bournemouth are 15 there. They're 13th.
13. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So from there, you go from 13 is Bournemouth, 12 United with 16.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going up.
Oh, sorry.
Brentford-
Yeah, but I get your point now with 8 difference. Yeah, they're closer to
Brentford,
regulation.
11th with 17.
I'll go back to
Fulham, Newcastle are 18. Aston Villa, Nottingham, Tottenham are all 19. And then there's a huge jump up to Brighton, 3 points, with Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton all 22. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a gap there between 5th and 6th. And then pretty much 6th to 13th, you throw a blanket over them. So, yeah, when you put it like that, it's Liverpool's to lose, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of those goal differences as well.
Yeah, Liverpool's
They play a good defense.
16, Tottenham's 14. Tottenham smacking Man City over the weekend. It's interesting. It's definitely Liverpool's to lose. New manager Arne Slot certainly doing well in the post-Klopp era. United had a draw overnight against Ipswich. All the pressure is going to be under the new manager. They're literally 4 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses, 13 goals for, 13 goals against. They're about as average as you can get at the moment.
And what have we got at the bottom? Southampton, Crystal Palace and Ipswich.
Yeah, Southampton are on all kinds of strife. They're the opposite of Liverpool. 1 win, 1 draw, 10 losses. You don't want to say, they're gone, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And then Palace, Ipswich, Wolves, Leicester, Everton, West Ham, all in danger.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. It's the first time, in a while that City have lost 3 on the trot, and across all formats, I think it's 4 or 5 losses on the trot for Manchester City.
Haaland's still at the top.
Haaland's still top goal scorer with 12, but it obviously is testament to how good a player Rodri is, and I think him winning the Ballon d'Or probably fairly deserved after Spain's efforts at the Euros, and then when he does his ACL, Man City go back to being, only the second best team in the APL.
Yep.
Socceroos pretty lucky, I think, to get away.
Draw, yep.
Yeah, they got away late against Bahrain to 2-2 draw. They had 2 draws in this last run of internationals, so Japan will shit it in that group, and then it's, I think, all 5 teams still in contention there for that second automatic qualifying spot.
We're still sitting second at the moment.
Just. Yeah, so it's really close. Look, from the way that we started in both those games, they're probably pretty lucky to come away as well as we did. But yeah, taking away 6 points this international break would have been really nice.
Yep, agree.
Watch this space, much like the NBA. By Christmas, they have a good idea. I think they've.
Yes.
Or I don't know actually if it's this year. It might be.
Yeah, when's the next international period?
I'll find this now. That might be done. It's not sorted. I know, like the group's not over until like March next year.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you just look for their games?
Yeah, I'll just look for Socceroos schedule.
March. It's all
March. June. So that's fucking ages away. Yeah. So
2 in March, 2 in June.
Indonesia and China. So really should have that, and then it's going to be hard because Japan and Saudi Arabia to finish. You don't want your hard work to be having to be done in June.
Yep.
So it's not till March. For some reason, I thought there was another international break before Christmas. So
maybe the Champions League break you're thinking of.
Nah, they play it week by week.
Okay.
Yeah. Nah, I don't know. It will cross that bridge when it comes in March, I suppose.
Yep.
Let's talk some fighting.
Yeah, let's finish up.
John Jones beats Stipe Miocic in UFC 309. This continues the GOAT chat. I don't know if it solidifies it anymore, but Stipe does retire post-fight, as kind of was expected. The ripe old age of 42, one of the best heavyweights to ever do it. Mm-hmm. Sean, what were your thoughts on the fight and where to next for John Jones?
Yeah, I thought John Jones looked about as good as you expect John Jones to be. Stipe looked a little bit old. He wasn't Mike Tyson old, but he was he looked a little bit older than he had been in the past. And Jones is a technician, like a master technician. You could see that. And, he was very, very good and got that win. By all accounts, he didn't retire. He's interested in another fight. He wants Pereira. I think UFC wants Aspinall.
Do you think he's dodging Aspinall?
Honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense considering, where is Tom in the hierarchy of the UFC from like face value. He's an interim champion. He's beaten a couple of dudes at heavyweight. He's not a
by knockout,
but he's not a massive name in comparison to Alex Pereira. He's the top of the UFC.
Yes,
he's the face at the moment. Like he's all over the place. He's 2 division champ, knocks out everyone. He's had all the title fights the last couple of years. He's the UFC's guy. So I think from a legacy standpoint, on your resume, Alex Pereira makes more sense than Tom Aspinall. What I think makes more sense, because he's basically said, if you want me to fight Tom, I need a huge bag. So either way, I don't care what happens. Which UFC's generally not been huge on giving massive amounts of money for fighters. But, it's John Jones. Maybe they'll do it for his last fight. But I think what's more interesting, because I kind of thought, because Jones was 235, that potentially he could even, call out Pereira and say, hey, I'm coming back for my belt. Go back to light heavyweight division, cut some of that weight.
After spending 2 years putting weight on.
Yeah, because I think he could probably lose the weight very quickly versus putting it on.
Yeah, so, that's right.
But I think it also makes way more sense for the UFC to Alex Pereira at heavyweight, give him the chance to be a 3-belt champion, get him to win, potentially win. If Johns wins, okay, Johns retires as the GOAT, he rides off the sunset. Alex goes back to light heavyweight and Tom becomes heavyweight champion. That's cleared up. But if Alex wins, He's now 3-belt champion.
Which has never happened in the UFC. has it?
Never happened before. And then you set him up with versus Aspinall as the next fight to defend that heavyweight belt. Because he could fight at 230. He basically is 230. He's 230 all the time.
Yeah, if you needed to.
So he's a very comparable size to what Jones is now. So, that matchup makes a lot of sense. I worry that Jones just runs through him anyway because his wrestling technician is just so good, and he's a very good striker that he'd be able to close that distance and get Alex down and beat the shit out of him. But if Alex did win, there's that storyline. You could transition essentially the UFC into the next era. Alex Pereira is your boogeyman essentially in the UFC, and then you've got your interim and Tom Aspinall that could then take him on as the next challenger to that heavyweight belt, and then you could have Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall, and then you make those two your next, they're your next two big stars. Post John Jones area, because you got to plan for, McGregor's probably not coming back. John Jones is, on the last legs.
Maybe 2 fights left.
Yeah, who's your next generation of stars in, title, champions you could have?
Do you know how old Alex Pereira is?
He's in late 30s. He's 30. Yeah, he's
37.
Exactly.
I think he's the next star of the UFC. I think he's the man right now.
Yeah, he is. That's what I'm saying. He's the boogeyman now. But that's what I'm saying. You use him to help build the star that is Tom Aspinall versus a retiring GOAT in John Jones. Because, Alex fights like 4 times a year. He could lose to Tom, and then they could do a rematch. They could go back and forth. It's probably a couple of years where they could actually have a couple of fights, and you have a trilogy, and you're building up their star as you will. Getting Tom more mainstream than he is now, where he's more hardcore for the heavyweight fans.
I don't know if he's pretty mainstream.
I don't.
He's not like Conor McGregor was in his heyday.
Well, you look at the guys he's beat to get his belt. You look at his Blades is in. He lost to Blades, came back. That was his knee. He came back, beat Blades, and
outside of blowing his knee out, all he's done is knock people out in the first round.
Yeah. Yes. But
incredible.
But that happens a lot in the heavyweight division. Like Derek Lewis, that happens a lot.
You can get on a run.
He's a fun fighter though. He's not a massive star, as you will. So what I'm getting at is, he's good in the heavyweight division, but he's not just as massive.
He's not the name value that Alex Pereira is.
Exactly.
I agree.
I'm saying to grow that, I think that Alex Pereira, John Jones makes a lot more sense from a UFC storytelling perspective than a rankings.
You know what this says to me even more? What? Why the fuck don't they have a 225 division?
Yeah, well, it makes a pretty... Or 230.
225, 230, something between light heavyweight and heavyweight.
Yeah.
60 pounds is a joke.
Yeah. And that's the max as well.
So. Well, that's right. You don't have to fight at the max. In fact, a lot of them win at 235, 240.
250, etc. So they could be anything in that range.
But it also means if you want your arguable GOAT in John Jones to go from light heavyweight, he's got to spend 2 years putting weight on to get to a point where he's strong enough and sturdy enough to go up.
True. And does he really want to fight at 230 to fight a guy that's 260? Like, realistically, not that much. He kind of did that in Garn, but I think Garn was like 250. But yeah, he's probably a reason why he didn't really want that Francis fight. Outside of the pure, I think he probably still beats Francis, but do you give up a 30-pound advantage is the question.
Exactly. And why should you have to?
Yeah.
Going back to my original question, which was, do you think Jones is ducking Aspinall? I've just seen that in social media. I'm not saying.
Have you seen his Twitter profile
at all? What do you say?
So John Jones, well, his ex profile, his icon is now a duck with a UFC belt around it.
He's funny.
Yeah.
Trump dancing and shit.
Yeah. I think he either wants to be paid really well or he wants a big legacy fight. And at this stage, if you looked all over the UFC, Alex Pereira is the biggest name.
The most.
So, yeah.
But who even cares about legacy? We're just dust. We're just dust. We're just dead.
Yeah,
legacy
no
is nothing.
We just die.
My legacy is nothing.
Yes.
Please don't kill me, Mike Tyson.
Yeah. So outside of that, Oliveira beat Michael Chandler in a 5-round fight, which
Good fight.
He dominated most of it, and then Chandler got a few good shots in the end. It was very fun, but Charles continues to, Chandler's coming back from a long layoff, but Oliveira keeps his run going. And then UFC was in Macau.
Got there.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Mackay. UFC going to Mackay, North
funny.
Queensland would be fun.
Yeah. Macau. So a lot of Chinese fighters, of course, on that. But it was headlined by Jan taking on Figueroa, and it was a pretty good fight that Jan controlled, I think is probably the best way to say it for most of it. And Figgy was kind of just throwing bombs and hoping. He got a couple of land and had a few moments. It was a pretty fun fight, actually. It was on a semi-interesting time for us. That fight happened at 1 o'clock in the morning, but the rest of it started at 10.
Prelims were on at a good time.
Yeah.
Especially if the cricket was less than interesting.
So it was a pretty fun card. There was 2 spinning kick knockouts.
A chick got knocked out bad.
Knocked out bad, yes.
Yeah.
You had to be stretching it off and they had
Snoring.
your scans. And yeah. So there's a few big finishes in that. So China Scout was very, very pleased. But, the big names was Jan taking on Figgy. And then, of course, we had, as we've been alluding to, Mike Tyson took on Jake Paul. And
My legacy is nothing. My legacy is dust.
Yeah. Whether it was rigged, whether it was...
No, it was too boring to be rigged.
Yeah. Tyson was just old, and I wonder if he had some sort of knee injury because he had...
I think it's just gas.
Something... He had no legs.
Yeah, the first round, I was like, this might be fun. And then it was rounds 2 through 8.
He threw 5 pound punches in the last 4 rounds.
Yes. Shocking. And
I think there was the shots there to be thrown, but yeah,
do you think Jake Paul, out of respect, had opportunities to knock him out and chose not to?
I think Tyson was very hittable, so yeah, he probably did. But I think you also respect his power. Like Tyson couldn't move around a lot. He wasn't going to be able to press forward and close distance very quickly. Mm-hmm. So why engage with him and run that risk? So there's that too. Yeah, so Paul played
20 million good reasons, I thought.
Exactly, he played a smart game.
He's a smart man.
Yeah, like he knew he was ahead, and he knows people want to tune in, see him either get knocked out or be disappointed that he wins. So he doesn't need to win super flashy all the time. He's done that enough, and a legend like Mike Tyson, you could probably see that. Yeah, maybe he didn't throw caution to the wind to try and get a finish. But
do you think it was an entertaining fight?
I think the idea was entertaining. I think the biggest thing was...
Oh, what I asked you.
No.
Did you think the fight was entertaining?
No, I was largely disappointed. Well, actually, no. I probably expected more than what we got. But then in hindsight, it's like a 58-year-old.
Yeah.
With shoddy knees that, who almost died a couple of months ago. You got the most out of him. I thought Tyson's head movement, I think he still had the power, and his head movement was still pretty elite for me.
Yep.
But that was all of the stuff he could do without having to move forward.
Yep.
His legs were the big issue.
Which he wasn't able to do from round 2 onwards.
Yeah. It was interesting listening to Holyfield, who fought him not that long ago. Was it Holyfield or was it Jones? I can't remember. One of them was on commentary and was saying, he doesn't look like the same dude that I fought 2 years ago. I think maybe he carried a knee injury into it, honestly. Whether he had something wrong with it, one ligament or something of the like. Because, he really couldn't move at all. The most interesting thing out of this for me was Netflix trying to run a streaming. They dabbled in live streaming of comedy.
And there was a lot of trouble, wasn't
there? Trouble
with some of the streaming.
Especially if you were trying to do it on TV or on a computer. A phone app seemed to be okay. Mm-hmm. The big thing is because the NFL's invested heavily in it. They're going to run 2 Christmas games on Netflix. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get involved in the live streaming aspect instead of just the streaming side of it. So the NFL will be looking at that with interest to see you need to iron out some issues because we don't want to have that for NFL games on Christmas Day.
Yep. They certainly need to get that sorted.
Yep.
I thought as an event, very, very underwhelming.
Oh, the Chicks fight beforehand was
much better.
It was way better.
Much better.
But then when you get 2 of the best females at 140 ever fighting each other, you see why.
Yeah, maybe it should be the main card. Or the main event, I should say. If you want your notes for the F1, we better talk it because my laptop is struggling.
I know most of that off the top of my head.
Sebastian Vettel.
So speaking of that man, Vettel, Max Verstappen has equalled him for Red Bull with 4 consecutive World Championships. Drivers' World Championships, mind you. So Max finished ahead of Lando in Vegas yesterday to cement himself as the next champion with 2 races to go. So Mercedes finished 1-2, Ferrari 3-4, Max was 5th, and then the McLarens were 6 and 7, with Lando just behind Max. So no matter what, Lando can't score enough points even if Max doesn't race the last 2. He will be the world champion. So I guess big congrats for him to do that, to win 4. It was pretty interesting considering the season. There's been 7 different drivers win. Russell won this race from pole and be the 7th different driver to win a race this year, which is the first time that's happened in F1's history. So it's a pretty competitive competition. So what's of interest in the last 2 races is the Constructors' Championship, which is, I believe, still led by McLaren.
I'll bring it up now.
I think Mercedes, even though they finished 1-2, are probably just too far away. Ferrari are very close to McLaren. And with Perez doing Perez things, not making it out of qualifying and finishing 10th, Red Bull, I don't think, have a chance. Oh, I guess they're close. Yeah, Mercedes is too far behind. They've got 180 odd points to make up. Can't do it because there's, the winner gets 25. So
with two races to go. So I've got it here.
It's those 3 teams, I think, can potentially do it, depending on what order they finish.
McLaren 608 and then Ferrari's 584. So I think it's going to be too much to go down to Red Bull in 3rd.
Yeah, especially with the way Perez has been finishing, scoring not a lot of points. And Max is just holding on to his championship. So, yeah, it's looking likely McLaren, but, the Ferraris finished ahead of them.
They're not out of the realm of possibility.
So they could come back and steal it, which is good for Lewis Hamilton, who's excited to be joining Ferrari next year.
And Qatar is this weekend upcoming?
What did it say there? Because they're going back, it might be a week.
No, it's this one. Yeah, first of December.
They go straight from Vegas across, and then the last race will be the
following week in Abu Dhabi.
Yep, sounds about right.
What do you think of the Vegas setup? Is that the second year?
Second run? I think this year was run much better than last year, and the race was pretty competitive. A lot of
issues with the
overtakes.
street last year, weren't there?
Yeah, the manhole covers, and they ended up running that race at like 3 o'clock in the morning for them over their time, which was what would it be, like an 8 or 9 o'clock start for us?
Not too bad.
Yeah,
maybe it should always be late.
Yeah, but the races at 5 o'clock in the afternoon for us on yesterday, so I got to watch all of it, and yeah, it was a pretty good race. A lot of overtaking, pretty fun. So yeah, and going back to that conversation we had about growing leagues, the 11th team is back on the cards for F1. It doesn't sound like the Andretti team, but Cadillac, who was involved with them, is looking likely. So not next season, but maybe next season. 2026, as you will. There might be an 11th team to join F1 as they continue to try to grow that sport more and more and more. And that's F1 news.
That'll do us here on The Esky. Thank you. If you are joining us for the first time, please check us out on socials and hit that subscribe button. It's going to be interesting to see from a cricketing perspective what the Aussies do. If they make a change, that is at all. We will see. We'll talk about all things second test in the next pod. The NFL will have a really good look at the playoff picture there. NBA will start to get towards the pointy end, plus everything else happening in the sporting world, from football/soccer to fights to F1 wrapping up. There's plenty to happen before Christmas. We'll have a couple of pods left in the 2024 calendar year. Thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time here on The Esky. Catch you then.
Bye.